Rock and roll? All right. It being 7-ish o'clock, I'm going to call this meeting of the Stow Zoning Board of Appeals to order.
Are we recording?
Yes, we are. Oh, we are? Yeah, it says recording on.
There it is. I see it. Okay, got it.
Don't doubt, Michael. All right. Let's take a look at our two sets of minutes. I believe July 8th minutes. Well, we'll start with the June 3rd minutes. Which I think we didn't get those against.
I finished them today.
Okay.
So
All right.
I do have one comment on June 3rd, on my comment about Janet Wheeler. She was actually asking about whether it was legal for the golf course to tear down the buildings that they tore down.
Oh.
Based on the lawsuit.
okay,
So-
I'll have that.
They can tear down the building, they definitely want to. Exactly. It's like, we don't have any bylaws for that.
I'm pretty sure I voted against myself. I'm joking. I'm going to chair. I was thinking that. Any comments on pages 1 or 2? No. Pages 3 or 4. Typo under organization structure. You say a trustee, and then just trustee.
Should be trustees. There's gonna be
You're missing this. Five or 6. Is that how you spell Andy Richardson? So the T at the end? What? Page 6. 2/3 of the way down. Then use applicants architects straight transfer.
On page 7, With, I guess, the fifth paragraph down, with citing Denise, Ben is small.
And in the top paragraph, you know, where it said expressed concern about the size of the library decreasing, true, but the amount of usable space is increasing. I don't think that's the case either. I think the amount of usable space is actually decreasing as well, as I understand.
No, Denise said earlier,
That the usable space is.
is increasing compared, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Page 7, 1, 2, 4th paragraph.
Guess it's true.
Michael Slagle, prior to the vote to close.
That's actually has some weird spaces in it. So,
Actually, on that sentence, instead of saying but the amount of usable space, it's saying even though the amount of usable space, it might be clearer.
Thank you. Cedar apple, right, I think. Okay. Any other comments, questions, edits to the minutes of June 3rd, 2024?
Should I be the number tonight? I don't know. Is Ruth on? And-
She's not coming until later.
She's just getting on now.
Oh, okay. All right.
Make a motion to accept the meeting minutes of June 3rd as edited.
second,
We have a motion with a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of accepting the minutes of June 3rd as amended? Aye. Motion passes. All right. July 8th, you should have in front of you a draft that incorporates edits, I believe, from both Andy and myself. So, edits or comments for pages 1 and 2. Comments 3 and pages 3 and 4. Item 6. Any final, any other questions, comments on the minutes for July 8th?
I move we approve the minutes of July 8th. And then if you are already there. Second.
A motion with a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of Finch? All in favor of accepting the minutes as amended in July 8th? Motion passes. It being 7:15, the next item that we have on our agenda is the continuing public hearing for 56 Harvard Road. My understanding is that there's been a request to continue the hearing to September the 9th. Is that right?
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Do we have any other information, Barb, since that?
No, I sent over a few resources based on the discussion that we had at the last meeting. I believe they need a little bit more time to produce a site plan, so that's why they're asking for a continuation.
Okay, and that's why we're holding off on site.
Yes, correct.
Were you waiting for some physical artifact or something from them or not?
Yes,
Yeah, the site plan.
Okay.
a site plan.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think the critical issue is no indication of parking.
Yeah,
On the
okay.
site plan, on whatever drawings they had before, so. Any discussion about the request to continue the hearing?
No.
Okay,
Do we have to open it first so we can close it? Reschedule it?
I thought technically I had reopened it.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, well, with that, I'll entertain a motion.
So whenever the next meeting is, September 9th, 7:15 on September 9th.
All right, thanks for calling.
Sorry.
Oh, you can stay.
Yeah.
It's also supper time.
Yeah. Send us food.
It's one of the reasons I'm here.
Yeah.
One, others obviously.
Okay. Wait, can we take a vote?
Yes.
Yes, so,
You'll have to.
yeah, I need a motion.
Make a motion that we continue the public hearing for 56 Harvard Road until September 9th at 7:15.
Second.
A motion of a second, any discussion, hearing none, all in favor? Oh, wait, actually, who was on this before?
First.
The 5 hours, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, motion passes.
That's why I showed up, because I figured I needed to be around for
Thank you, Ruth.
the continuing.
We've got some.
Just to make life complicated, I'm actually going to be in Europe on the 9th. So
That's okay, it'll be, it'll be what, like 1 o'clock in the morning? It'll be fine,
You can zoom it.
yeah,
Yeah.
no problem.
just bring some wine.
Is there a swap? Is there an option for the night? Seriously, is there an option for the 9th? I mean, I can, it 1 in the morning would be tough.
Yeah, I figured.
I think.
If I were having a lovely vacation, I'm actually competing at World Championships, so I do sort of have to sleep.
World Championships of what?
Rowing.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's awesome. Good luck.
So,
Thanks.
that can be-
That's usually why I'm not around, is I'm chasing and rowing somewhere, but
All right, well, let's wait till September 9th. Can you be there on the 9th?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's
all
fine.
right, because you were at the prior one.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine.
So, yeah,
okay, thanks you guys. Sorry to be a hassle.
No,
Okay.
I'm glad you brought it up now, rather than us sitting around.
It's important.
Yeah, so.
Next time, maybe we'll see you at the Olympics.
Not anymore. I'm way too old, but thank you.
All right, so we've got some time. Let me just finish up the administrative items. Any member updates of a zoning or planning nature? No, okay. There's really no correspondence in my mind to review, largely because the 4 pieces that we have that are noted on the agenda both all concern the Stow Acres comprehensive permit, so we can address those when we get to that. Considering that we've got a few minutes, there is a request from 58 Randall Road on the glow sticks for us to approve those. I want to note that because of ongoing, because the underlying decision is the subject of a legal matter, I've asked that people not discuss anything related to that and just stick to the glow stick issue. I believe you should have received in your packets a submission from the applicant to approve the glow sticks based on the specs as we had asked. Just to clarify for oh, go ahead.
How about, Robin and Amy came back with, as to the driving range special permit, it's my opinion that it's fine for the planning board to act under condition 8 to review the glow sticks.
Well, I guess I just wanted to.
I mean, she almost says, we don't do it because we've already.
True.
What, have you had any discussions with her about it? What is your interpretation of what she's saying?
My interpretation is that everything that the applicant is asking us to do is at their own risk.
Yeah.
And it's something that the permit says would be under this board's purview.
Okay.
So it's my opinion that it would be this board that does it. And I think she responded to that relatively quickly, so I
So
think,
she may have screwed up.
I believe she may have made a
Okay.
mistake in what board she referenced.
Okay.
Um,
I'm sorry.
No, I'm glad you asked.
But it really was part of our discussion, and I think.
It was, we asked for it in our decision.
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe our decision said it meets these following spec, but we're happy with it, and all they're doing is showing it as a courtesy, I would think.
Right, I kind of actually, do exactly, maybe after the decision, let's just refer back to the language, I'm sure it's done beforehand.
I can pull it up.
Okay.
So it's the specs, as the specs that he's intending to use. Yeah. And that was really a request that we had asked for.
Correct.
But, and 700 lumens is not very much. Right. So I think it's well below what we put in the decision.
It says prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy, specifications for the glow sticks shall be provided to the board for approval.
Okay.
The glow sticks shall not exceed 7 feet in height. I believe.
6.5.
The lighting output for each glow stick shall not exceed 1,000 lumens. The glow sticks shall have a steady output of light. The glow stick should not blink, flash, pulse, twinkle, or strobe under any circumstance.
Okay.
The glow sticks can only be illuminated while the driving range is in operation.
I think that's what we've got. Any discussion, any concerns about what's been submitted? No.
I guess we have to move that we accept the specifications for the glow sticks as they meet our conditions in our decision.
There's a motion, go second.
Second.
There's a motion with second. Any further discussion? No? Okay. Hearing none. All in favor of approving the specifications to indicate that they satisfy the conditions we set forth in our decision?
Am I on this one? I don't remember. Or
It's,
should-
I think it was-
This is a different,
it's not related to a hearing, so it would be Ruth.
Oh, okay.
So, all in favor?
I,
All right, that passes. All right. All right, we've got 8 minutes before we have a new special permit to consider for 278 Red Acre Road. The only other thing to discuss at the moment is the decision for 98 Pine Point Road. So I'm happy to take a few minutes to at least start getting into that. We've got the time. So, and just as a reminder, the public hearing for this matter was closed at the end of the last meeting, so we can't take any more information from either members of the public or from the applicant. Should all have a draft of the decision. So welcome to take any sort of general comments or concerns, or if you want to go through it page by page, happy to do as well. And just a reminder, this one, Michael Mail was on it, and so and could switch things up. So it's just going to be Andy, Ernie, and myself. Footage on the date. Oh. Is that date right? November 6th, 2004?
Yes.
I think just to clarify, for number 7, it says a notice of intent was not submitted to the Conservation Commission. That was super picky. A notice of intent was not submitted to the Conservation as of the date that the public hearing closed.
Should I write on July 8th, since that was the last,
That's when the public hearing closed.
yes.
Yeah. Any other comments or edits or thoughts, pages that say 1 through 3? 13. Third sentence, the board found that the applicant requested continuations, but had not, how are we talking in the past? Had not provided. Page 4. Comments, edits. To the, this is some sort of, paragraph 4 talks about the existing deck located 10.7 feet from the westerly property line. But then paragraph 18 talks about the addition encroaches the westerly property boundary by 10.8 feet.
There is
There is a
slight
distinction?
Yeah.
Okay.
The 10.7 was based on the original site plan, that didn't show the addition and the shed.
Does that indication that the addition encroaches westerly property boundary by 10.8? Does that possibly mischaracterize it because theoretically we're already encroaching there already?
Right there.
You know? Like you read that and it sounds like it's a new encroachment as opposed to building on top of a current encroachment. I don't know.
It could get redefined. The word encroachment could get removed and replaced with something else.
I mean, is it more like the addition is within the encroachment of the westerly boundary, something like that? You know what I mean? Addition is within the encroachment that presently exists at whatever, 10.8 feet.
I could write like it's enclosing
Yeah.
the existing deck.
Yeah, there's no reason to be cute about it, just, yeah, just go ahead and say it.
So it's on this enclosing the existing deck.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna pause. I wanna pause on this because it's now just actually the left is 8:30. So let's take a pause on 98 Pine Point Road and turn our attention to the special permit for 278 Red Acre Road. Before we open, hey Ruth, is it easier for you to pass on this one if you've got Lenny here?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
All right. So Lenny.
Thanks for asking.
No problem. I'm gonna appoint you as associate member to be a voting member on this particular special permit, please. Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to waive the reading of the notice.
We've already, reading of the notice of public hearing. Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. All in favor of waiving the reading of the notice, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right, so, just as, is the applicant here, by the way?
Yeah.
Excellent, thank you. So thank you for being here. So we have a special permit application for 278 Red Acre Road. In just a moment, I'll turn the floor over to you just to explain briefly what you're asking for. There may be questions or comments by members of the board. That is not a reflection of the opinions of the board. The opinion of the board will only be reflected in the final decision. I would encourage folks to ask questions, make comments, allow the applicant to provide whatever information he can. After that point, I'll open the floor up to any public comment by butters or otherwise, both in the room and on Zoom. As a reminder to the applicant, public comments are directed to the board. You're welcome to respond if you'd like. If you don't want to, you don't have to. That being said, the board might take the question or comment and then direct it to you, and so then we would ask you the question or comment. At that point, members of the board are more than welcome to ask any further questions or comments of the applicant. And then we'll proceed from there, most likely to a vote to close the public hearing. At that point, we can't take any more information from members of the public or from the applicant, but we can't deliberate and then issue a final decision at that time. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to you. And if you can just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about what you're looking for.
Okay, I'm Richard Lally. I live on 278 Red Acre Road, and I have a small lot. It's a little bit under half an acre, so I don't have much room to put a shed anywhere within the town's bylaws. So I'm looking to put it in the back left corner of my yard, 5 feet or more from the abutter's property. And I gave you guys all pictures and sizes of the shed, I believe. And it's just a simple shed to store our gardening tools and stuff. We do a lot of gardening, have a lot of lawn tools. And there's not enough room in the garage for everything, so just wanted to have some more space. And there's really no place to put it, except for up in that corner of the yard.
I assume no electricity, no water, no sewer, anything.
But, and it's gonna be put in by Ferry Sheds.
Do you know the height?
Yeah, I think that's you guys much. I think it's 12 by 14 by.
14 by 12 dimension wise, how tall is it?
Sure, what it says, yeah.
Oh, that's all right, something.
You did? Tell me what.
I'm trying to find it again. I can thank you.
I didn't see it.
Okay.
I don't understand the drawing that way.
Yeah.
Whatever standard height is, I guess.
An approximation, I mean, it's not
I would
35
say,
feet.
no, it's probably 10 feet maybe, and it's got a little dormer on the roof, like a 1 foot dormer for the windows. So,
You can take 125 mile an hour wind.
Well, that's the.
but anyway, I would say about 10 to 12 feet high.
Decision.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
Just clarification, there's 2 documents here. One is for trust Q1 and one is for trust B1. Are there 2 physical buildings or are these different proposals?
No, just one. I don't know why there's 2 unless I
One
printed
for-
something
The
out.
roof pitch is different on one than the other.
Oh, yeah.
The front has that little shed dormer window thing.
Oh, okay, so. Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're mentioning
Oh, okay.
5 feet from the,
Well, at least, yeah, I can't go much more than back more than that. I mean,
Right,
more than that, because I have trees all the way around it.
yeah, just looking at the picture, there was a sort of this kitty corner to the.
Yeah,
And so I'm just wondering whether that 5 feet was from the corner to the property line or from the,
From the corner, it might be almost 10 feet, but the two points that are kitty corner would be at least 5 feet or more into my
Okay.
property.
and it's, you have nothing in front, you have things in front that you really can't.
No, there's bushes and trees there, a couple of nice magnolia trees and
Okay.
big garden.
Okay.
And then the other side of the yard, I have my septic system, and then the only other place is the front yard, so.
You saw it as well, easily.
The wells, no, that's on the other side of my yard.
Any other questions or comments this time?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, I will open up for public comment to anybody in the room at first. If you have any comments, please just introduce us by name and by address. Yes.
I'm Nancy Arsenal, 267 Red Acre. I'm across the street kitty corner, and this is Kathy Steege, Red Acre Farm right next door. She's the abutting property. So we were talking, and she's just curious. So that would be like grandfathered in years from now, right? Let's say she's thinking of selling an adjacent lot right there. Then that shed would be not to specifications of the bylaws. So would that just be accepted by the person who buys the other lot then? I guess she's looking to see, as I speak for her, if it impacts.
I guess my question is, what's the standard setback?
It's like 100 feet, right?
Yeah.
No, 30 and 25.
30.
40 from the
40.
rear, 25 from the sides, 30 from the front.
And there's a fence along the backside where you want to put this, right? Or is it just open woods?
It's open woods.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And I think what you're asking is, if someone goes by a property, is it gonna be zoned correctly so she can sell the property? That's what you're trying to say, and I think it would, because you guys pass it, I guess, and then it goes to the registry of deeds as accepted, so it shouldn't be a problem.
The special permit would live on with whoever owns the property. If the shed is removed in years past and it's not there for 2 years, then the process would have to begin again, but it wouldn't impact other deeds in the area.
So it kind of supersedes the existing bylaw, right, when you get the special permit, it's kind of like,
Yes and no. It depends on the board. Through this board, they are able to waive requirements of the zoning bylaw, which is what you're seeking. But if it was a special permit through the planning board, they would not be able to waive sections of the bylaw. They would have to go strictly by what it says.
You're not conforming lot, that's why you come to us.
because I'm under half an
planning
acre.
board.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
I think the word would be relief as opposed to.
Right, yeah, yeah.
Any other public comments from folks in the room? Anybody on Zoom?
Do you guys do a walkthrough on something like this, just to look at the space, or this is enough on paper?
Yeah, so, doing a site visit is within the discretion of the board to do so or not. I would say, without commenting about this one, is that I think historically, this isn't something that we would typically do a site visit on. But there's no, but I will also be clear, there's no firm requirement that we ever have to do a site visit or that we're prohibited from doing so. We really take it on an application by application basis, depending on, you know, what type of relief they're looking for, the level of the, you know, construction that they might be, you know, anticipating, the particular neighborhood, whatever factors might come into play, to the extent that we think it's helpful to for our decision.
You'll be more than welcome if you.
So, any other questions or comments from the board?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm fine.
And any further information that the applicant wants to provide?
No, I don't think it wouldn't be started probably until first, second week of September. And they're gonna do it, I think, in one day. They just bring it in 4 pieces and then put it together.
And yeah, and to the extent there's any limitations about, like, you know, when people can be working, all that kind of stuff, that's pretty much set forth in the town's regulations, and frankly, we don't have any jurisdiction over that anyways. So whatever the town's already set forth is what needs to happen. You know, no work on Sunday, you know, for that.
It's all in the decisions.
Yeah. All right. Happy to take a motion.
I move to close the public hearing on 278 Red Acre.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion on closing the public hearing on 278 Red Acre Road? Hearing none, all in favor? All right, with that, the public hearing for 278 Red Acre Road, special permit application is closed, meaning we cannot take any more information for or against, either from the applicant or from members of the public. We have, so it's now 7:45, which typically we would start our next hearing, but I do not see Mark.
I was talking with him, Shay, he confirmed he'll be here. He
Okay.
must just be running a little bit late.
That's okay.
Yep.
If there's no objection, I'm happy to dive into the decision right now, if that's okay, you folks. Okay. Should have a copy of the draft decision. Yeah,
What do I have to do next now? Do I get something in the mail or what happens next?
well, nothing's actually quite happened yet.
Yeah.
So the public hearing has been closed,
Yeah.
so we have a draft decision that we're gonna take a few minutes now to take a look at which
Yeah.
point we'll discuss if we need to make any changes, and then we still need to vote to actually approve or deny, or however it might be, the decision. And then after that, we'll let you know what to do.
All right, so I get an email from someone?
Yeah, I mean, I would stick around.
Oh, hang on. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Don't go anywhere.
Well, our decision goes to the town clerk, and we have a 20-day appeal period.
And a building permit, is this considered the building?
After, no, you didn't have to go to the building department to get a building permit. Put up the,
Speaking of that,
put up the shed. It's gonna be a 20-day delay from the time we file it with town clerk and the time you can do anything,
Okay.
and you'll get copies.
And that's when I get the building permit after.
Then you can go get the building permit.
Mark, just for administrative purposes, while your hearing is supposed to start at 7:45, I want to try to wrap up one that started at 7:30, so if you can just give us a few minutes, I think. Okay. Any edits, comments, questions, looking at the draft decision on pages, let's say 1 and 2? Oh, can you update it to indicate that Ruth was not part of this and that letting us? Okay.
And,
Yep.
the age restricted, just to clarify again, the age, is that like over 55, just like the AAM? I'm sorry, what? The age restricted, what age is it restricted to?
Wrong permit,
What?
that's the wrong permit.
Oh, okay. Well, that answers that.
You have the draft for 278?
No, I don't actually.
Yeah, you can take mine.
Here,
Pass it down.
I got it.
You take a,
There's a roll call vote?
written down a vote, same thing, a roll call vote.
oh, I can change it to.
Yeah, I didn't think this one was that. Okay, yeah.
And Root Kennedy's in there again.
Yeah. I think it is, yeah. All right, so you're looking for prints 14 to 12, not 15 to 20.
All standard. I move that we approve the grant, or grant the special permit for 278 Red Acre Road for the shed. And also that we approve the decision as printed with exception that Ruth's replaced with Flynn.
We have a motion with a second.
Second.
We have a motion with a second. Any discussion about, any further discussion on the granting of the special permit and draft decision?
Nope.
Also,
That's fine. Very good. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, now, with that decision, there's a full period of 20 days from each lapse, and at which point you can pick up a copy. And then should be also from there.
Do I apply for the permit, or I just come pick it up?
I'll send you the information on the next steps in an email tomorrow.
That's good.
Awesome. Thanks, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought we were doing
The comprehensive permit?
Yeah.
No, we're getting this one done off. Okay. We're crossing this one off the list. Okay, where's Mark?
He's- I'm gonna see if you went in the planning office.
Okay, yeah, okay. Want to change to a site visit? So you want to change to a site visit? All right, so, a few minutes late, but we're now gonna go to our next agenda item, which is reopening the hearing for 0 Randall Road, comprehensive permit for the Stow Acres North Course. And just to update folks, we did have a draft decision where, and we have received comments back from our consultant, from town council. Some members of the board submitted their own comments. The head of the Conservation Commission has submitted their comments as well. So hopefully everyone has seen those. We have received some pieces of correspondence that are noted in the agenda concerning the draft decision too. I guess one thing I would ask Michael is, I know that there was a note sent to folks, sort of a, speak now or forever hold your peace. I saw that the Conservation Commission responded. Did any other responses?
Conservation Commission was the only one that submitted something. I did get one of the members of the treasurer collector's office came up and said, there's nothing, you want me to submit
Okay,
that there's no outstanding taxes, and I said, that's
That's
fine,
good
I
enough.
can relay that message.
okay.
But yes, only the Conservation Commission submitted in writing.
I think the deadline for getting those in was like 10 days ago, right?
Yes.
Okay.
The 26th.
I think that's fine. So I think at this point, why don't we, Mark, why don't I turn it over to you and just provide, and if you have nothing, that's okay. But I just wanted to give you the opportunity to provide any sort of additional updates since our last meeting, and also before we start going through various lists, any reactions, comments, concerns about the draft decision that you've seen, so.
Sure.
And if you don't have any updates, that's fine, but I figured I would,
Yeah,
I give you the floor.
I don't have a bunch of updates. I have been communicating with Michael. I've responded, and I've seen today, I got quite a stack of documents as everybody else probably did. I know a number have been built into it. So, as of, the permit, as of roughly, I think we spoke about 3:00 this afternoon. I had gone through all of the comments that were in there, and, was generally comfortable with the things. There were still some outstanding items that I think some placeholders that were in there and some things to talk about. But generally, I think it's comprehensive and pretty well organized, and, it's just a lot of, I know a lot of comments came in, and it's just trying to keep up with them, be the traffic cop is the.
There's a lot to look at.
this point. There's a lot, there's a lot of information, there's a lot of plans. I think fortunately for everybody, there really haven't been a whole bunch of substantial changes on the plan itself. So it's, other than really flopping, moving around a couple of houses and, massaging a couple of areas, it's generally consistent. So there hasn't been this wholesale change that kind of throws everybody off. So from that sense, I don't think that there are, really a lot of surprises, and, I think that the permit reflects that. It's kind of matter of fact that much of the permit is really focused on the plan, which I think is better for everybody. If you have questions, you look at the plan, if there's, instead of trying to interpret, a whole bunch of things about this comment or that comment. So, I am, I would say, generally satisfied with where we are, and exactly how you want to proceed. If we want to flip through page by page and have comments from people, it's really whatever works.
Well, if I can ask the question now that I got the right here. On the age restriction, what is the age? Is it over 55, those 5 age restricted?
The units in the multifamily are 62 plus.
62 plus.
So 62 plus, they're all 1-bedroom homes. At 62 plus, you're able to restrict children, which for the type of project that it was, we were looking for 1 bedrooms, looking to keep them modest in size, having the ability to say that children will not be allowed at the property, I think is an advantage for everybody, and that was part of some of the initial conversations we had up front. At 55 plus with the state, children aren't restricted. You can have 1 member, or there's just different things to deal with it. So lets it be focused on the 62 plus, and with that, we also did the 50% of median as the maximum income for the affordable units. So I think that's a significant advantage as well. But so.
And the median is as it's determined at the time of.
At the time of the lottery, yeah. Right now, 50% of median for a household of 2 is probably, geez, the numbers have gone up so much, probably about 60,000. Ballpark.
Is that based on Stow's median or Massachusetts? Or?
The median income, it's based on their HUD PMSA areas. So Stow is actually considered Greater Boston. So it's the same numbers as downtown Boston as you have in Stow. A household of 4 for family housing in Stow, $130,250 is the maximum income. You go 2.5 miles west to the thriving metropolis of Bolton, that's 97.8.
Wow, that's a big difference.
Boston is considered, they have an eastern Worcester finger that kind of runs up the west part of 495, and it has a pretty sizable impact. So, and you can argue for better or for worse.
Yeah.
It's worse for me, it's better for tenants, because the rents and the sale prices are probably $40,000 lower on a sale price, and $200 to $300 a month in rent.
I understand, obviously a big difference between Boston and Worcester, but there isn't much difference between Stow and Bolton.
I guess they gotta draw the line
Yeah, across
somewhere,
495.
and that's where they,
County lines.
that's where they drew it, yeah, and it is county related as well, so. So you do see some, I'm working on a project in Tewksbury, which I thought was gonna be Boston, come to find out it's Lowell,
Oh,
which is really the same numbers as Bolton, not as Stow. So even though it's, whatever, a lot closer to Boston, probably, 35 minutes to downtown, it's still substantially lower than here. So
Where in Tewksbury?
Hmm?
Where in
I
Tewksbury,
can't tell you that, it's classified.
as a resident?
Now he's upset.
You should embrace it. It'd be a lot worse, okay?
Now he's kissing his butt.
I'll talk to you later. Well, it's an RFP, and I'm sure you're very involved with town government in Tewksbury, so you're very aware of it.
He probably doesn't, he
Yeah.
doesn't have time to get involved in their government.
So let me, there's a few different ways that we can do this. It's certainly go through the permit draft decision, frankly, page by page. There's also various lists that have been sort of created over time. And so we can also go through those. I'm sort of inclined, I don't know, to look to you, but to the extent that like you have any, to the extent that town staff has any sort of pressing issues or open areas that you don't feel have been addressed yet.
So I guess my thought process for it was I compiled all the comments into a draft that I left at everyone's station.
So there's, I've got two, there's one
Yeah,
that's
there's
red line,
two issues, two iterations here. Which one are we?
one's 28 pages, one's 29 pages.
The 29-page one, the top, that's Andy's comments.
Oh, yeah,
It should be one of 29 pages,
The red line.
red line.
okay.
This has all of the comments from members of the board, town council, and the applicant. I did not include comments from the Conservation Commission because they're not sitting on this hearing.
Yep.
But those I sent earlier over to everyone to review. So my thought was if we could go kind of through the decision first, I think that might be most helpful, because that's what's getting approved. There are a few gaps in there that I think we need further clarification on. So I think that would be the best place to start.
Yeah, that's fine, as long as everything's sort of consolidated in there. I mean, I've also got, I think this was your list.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that seems so long ago.
I 2 months. Oh, a lifetime.
Michael, forgive me, but in terms of the incorporating the Conservation Commission's comments, how are we doing that?
So for their comments, they are separate, so if we could have both out at the same time, that might be helpful.
Okay.
This is one put in the packet, right?
Yeah.
We have the packet.
That was a full. because they
Mr.
were
Chair,
full.
I'd be happy to sort of be the person to track that, if that would be helpful to have a second.
There was an,
Helpful.
did I not?
No, she's talking about this one.
Oh,
Kathy has-
those
Kathy-
comments.
yeah,
for the
Kathy's
decision
handwritten
itself.
comments.
Okay,
Yeah, and that just came in late
Some-
today.
some of
I
those
just
are
making
valid.
sure,
Yeah.
I didn't.
We can,
I didn't get
well,
to
we can just track it while we go through it, so.
So, Michael, did Ezra's comments or suggestions get rationalized as well?
Yes,
Okay.
kind of integrated throughout, but not like line by line.
Yeah, okay. It's fine, thank you.
Okay, so I think with that, unless anyone has any objections, I'm happy to go through the draft decision, sort of page by page, just as a guide. And then we'll try to cross-reference that with the Conservation Commission's or Kathy's handwritten edits as well. And I encourage people to speak up if there's anything of a concern, big or small.
So, before we start, does it have a revision number or version that we are gonna use as a reference point?
Not printed on here, the document file name I have saved as a separate one. It's not included printed.
But just so we don't get jammed up on the wrong version at some point, okay.
So, but it has an 08/05/24 date. And is that the same one that we went through at 3? It hasn't been updated since then, or did it?
Very, very minor to incorporate, Ernie's comments. that he submitted.
Okay,
All right, page 1.
That's an easy one.
You'd think. So, actually, let's just do this by section. Let's just do, all right, section 1, the background of project proposal and concerns.
Just Kathy's one comment on open space.
Oh, yeah. So the top paragraph, no, where's it?
There's a reference to open greens and she wanted to substitute the word space. End of the
Yeah. it's in there.
third paragraph.
Yeah. I assume the highlighter because we're not sure if we're closing it or not. Okay. Any other comments, questions, concerns about section 1?
No, I think the question is the one note where it says public hearing closed on August 5th. We
Right.
just need to remember if we do that or not, that's all.
Understood. All right, section 2, on the initial submission.
That public hearing on the closing of August 5th, we might as well take it out now because it's not gonna happen today, I don't think.
Oh, I don't know, we can change your mind. I assume nothing on 2. I'm just gonna trust that Mikey listed it correctly. Section 3, the initial submissions.
so the numbering sequence there,
Oh yeah, the numbering is off. I think 1, 2, 3, 1, 1, 1.
They are separate.
there, what?
They,
Oh, correct. Oh, I see how you did
they
it.
are, I can,
Oh, yeah. Okay, I get it.
So I don't. So you're using,
So
those, so
there's
the,
some
okay,
files,
so
yeah.
you're trying to articulate different meanings there. Okay.
Okay, this is ridiculously picky. I think just for readability, I would avoid doing that. If there's only one item there, don't break it out. Just say, the applicant filed blank. Otherwise, it does look kind of funky.
Or go to ABC or
Just,
No, just
just make it 5, 6, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. It's just, I guess, that same convention going through the rest of this as
Right.
well.
section 4, correspondence. Give the most recent stuff in here too. Like I don't see the conservation commissions.
that off to add.
There's just the correspondence we received recently. Just update that. Awesome. All right. Maybe just keep a note that if we get any more correspondence, we'll have I'll just stick that in there, so, yeah, I think all the correspondence for tonight, the agenda tonight is not for that. All right, section 5, finding the board.
It looks like Kathy was looking for another finding about consistency with master planning and town land. Was that what she was after, Michael?
Yes, she wanted something that would be, I believe.
Up to 4. All right.
Yeah.
All right, well, yeah, before we get to that, any thoughts about findings of the boards 1 through 4? And I'm sorry, I know we talked about this with someone, I can't remember if it was town council or Ezra, but the way we got this set up as like sort of a comprehensive decision is okay, we only do 3 separate ones.
It's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, town council said that was okay. Okay. As long as we have the 3 separate
Okay,
decisions, so
we don't need to vote on the 3 times, we need to vote on each separate one,
I would do each.
just to be safe, yeah.
Each, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and it spells out the 3 regulatory agreements, which is really the primary document that will dictate the 3 components.
Right.
I think it's fine.
Is that math still right? 3, about 10.02%.
It should be no other units have been added or removed.
Okay.
So it's right.
Do we need to put in some sort of an asterisk because of the micro units?
So where are you?
Anything will go up.
So what we're,
The 2 will become 4 or 6 or something, so it won't go down. If it doesn't happen, it stays where we are. If it happens, it'll result in more units, so I wouldn't worry about it.
it says
From that
in the
perspective.
decision that we're considering it 1 unit. So
I
that,
mean, 2.
well, 2 units
Right.
total, so that's how we're
Gotcha.
defining it.
But there's no risk the state's not gonna come back and say they don't count it all.
No, if they don't allow a micro unit program, it's dead and the 2 units are affordable just as they are now.
Okay,
So there's no way that they get lost. It's, they
right,
become micro units or no change.
right, but yeah, I guess, yeah, my question was whether, like, there's a chance that they say, we love the micro unit idea, but we're not gonna count it for the affordability purposes, which sounds bananas, but like,
It does sound bananas, but
but I don't know, I don't know what they're gonna do, you know?
I don't believe so,
Yeah.
but I am speaking for that.
Okay.
I don't believe that was the intent. The population was to have income-related controls, but if you wanna put something in there to be safe.
Yeah, I mean, when we get to the micro unit section, okay, take a look just to make sure. Okay, so, okay, so then Kathy after 4 has a comment. Finding
Finding to overall master planning.
town land.
She wants us to talk about the master plan work that was done on both golf courses in this decision. To show
Shows
that
it
the
something like the board finds that this is consistent with the town's master plan. Something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's, I like it hurts.
Yeah,
Why do we need to do that?
well, that's what I'm asking as well.
Right, I'm asking the same question. Why do we seem to be obligated to want to do that?
it's not required, but I think it's to show we're doing a good job,
Who's we?
the board, by being consistent with town goals.
I guess this question is it completely consistent?
I would say yes, since it was approved essentially at town meeting. And we've had no abutters write to us or comment in essence. So,
It's editorial. It's-
No, I know, no, I know it is, call it my conservative nature of putting in something that otherwise seems innocuous, and then I go, well, wait a minute, like,
It's the
you know.
attorney in you.
if you don't need to, why do you need to,
It's about, yeah.
Okay, we don't need to figure this out now, why don't we just, if you can just put a note in there of like, we can figure it out, I mean, it's one sentence essentially.
I mean, I don't see any harm in it.
Well, that's why I'm asking, that's why I'm saying it's somewhat innocuous,
Yeah.
But I'm always loath to throw in something that, oh, it doesn't make a difference, well, then why are you saying it? You know what I mean, it kind of begs the question, like, we get it, you're saying it for a reason,
Well, I think we're saying it's kind of an affirmation of the friendly 40B process, really, to differentiate it from another context. Is it necessary? I don't know. Is it helpful as distinguishing this from other projects in other communities? Maybe.
What if we didn't put it as a finding, we just put it in the background section?
I could include it when we talk about the LIP application.
Okay.
And just say it was approved in the LIP application and then received additional support through
Something like that.
town meeting. And
Yeah.
I like that. That's a really good idea, Michael.
Kind of buried in some places. Okay. All right, and then 5 is just a list of all the zoning bylaw waivers that are being requested.
Oh, sorry, Kathy had another comment here on that same page. It was something actually I had submitted it up to you on, and I don't remember if it was in there about maintenance of the pathway.
I did not include that in the findings section. I have that in the conditions.
Is it in the conditions? Okay. I didn't remember if I kind of went through it quickly, so, okay.
Yeah, it shows up later in conditions.
Okay. Any concerns about the list of the waivers? I'm assuming they're all correct.
I'll just note that they are summaries of the waivers, they're not the complete request of the waiver.
So you're just supposed to have a period after section 5.2. Okay. All right, section 6, which would be the decision for the for sale single family units. Says, in accordance with its application romance, and to grant or deny.
Yes. I mean, they're all granted. So I can write strike or deny.
Yeah, I was just confused by it.
I think this is the language from every other comprehensive permit.
Okay, I'm just,
So-
I was just, it's confusing, but heck, I don't know. All right, anything else on 6, frankly, 7 or 8, I mean, the language is pretty much the same.
Pretty much the same, yeah.
So I would just maybe think about changing that language in all 3. It's a small thing. Right now, it talks about the rental cottage units at 40 and the apartment units at 20. It says not more than. It's not necessarily implied that you could just make a decision at the end and be like, we're just gonna do 10.
I think what.
I'm not suggesting you're
No,
going
no,
to,
I-
I'm just like wondering whether we need to.
I think generally what it contemplates, if there's an engineering reason, that something gets taken out.
Yep.
That's okay, but you can't add more units.
Right.
That's how I generally.
Oh, yeah, no, if you suddenly realize, oh my God, we can't have 25 units, the building's gonna
I can't
collapse or
do
whatever, yeah.
Yeah, or whatever, wetlands is different, something
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that. So in the past, that has happened with projects. I don't expect it to happen here.
Yeah.
But I think that's where the wording gets carried over from that
Yeah.
nature of no more than, because you're comfortable with 124. If it was 100, presumably.
Yeah.
You'd be just as comfortable. But,
Yeah.
So I think that's.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether or not, like, would we ever consider a minimum, going like,
Yeah,
it's gotta be at least 20, but not more than 25, you know?
I look, it's gonna be as many as I can.
Well, I realize you're not gonna wanna go down, I understand that, I'm just,
I mean, there's a theoretically, there's a point where it is uneconomic, and I'd
course.
be back in talking with you about other things if there's a problem.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't have a problem with the wording. If you think it should be constrained more, then, by all means, but I don't.
So, just to be pragmatic, are you suggesting if somehow the plug gets pulled on this and there's,
Well, I'm just thinking that from our perspective, if we're looking at this from the, from our perspective, I mean, part of this is also ensuring a certain number of affordable units.
Right.
Like, if you're in a situation where you're like, well, I gotta pull the plug on either one of the houses or 5 of the affordable units, like, do we wanna put a guardrail there? I don't know, yes.
I would say that if the units are going down a certain amount, there probably are gonna be other site plan changes that would need to come about, which would force the project to come forward. So stormwater, calcs, roadway impacts, just other kinds of things. Like what Mark said too about the affordability, if he's not able to maintain at least 20-25%. So I think there's some safeguard there.
Yeah. I don't know, people can say I'm overreacting. I'm just trying to figure out whether there's is there, not to say it again, is there a downside to putting in some sort of just floor, reduction by 15%, I don't know.
I would feel more comfortable with a floor myself, it can be a reasonable floor, but just.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not saying if you go from 40 to 39, suddenly the whole thing's gonna, go downhill.
Right.
I'm trying to figure out what a material drop would be.
Is the concern that there is going to be overall less housing, or that there'll be, that the affordable housing won't be made to the same percentage as we want it to be made?
Yeah, it's that way. I mean,
The percentage has to.
Yeah.
So I couldn't take out 4 units and make them all be affordable. So from a practical sense, within the 40B guidelines in terms of what's substantial, what's non-substantial, going up less than 10% cannot be even considered to be substantial. Going down is not considered substantial either. So, there is some coverage that's in there. I think, from a practical sense, if the project retrenched a bit, it would be a proportionate retrenchment, whether it is, in the single family that became 80, now you have 80 homes and 20 of them are affordable. Or if 40 dropped to 32, you'd still have 25% would be affordable. So,
Well, so if you couldn't do the 40 rental and it came down to say 30 rental, what would happen? And what would balance that out in terms of the affordability percentage? Would you have to reduce some other units to keep it at that percentage?
it would always be 25% of that. The way that I think what's beneficial for the board to view it, and goes along with David's comment, is this one permit, is a 3 permits, is in a sense, you have 3 projects within one here. They're all going to operate essentially from a financial structure separately. They're gonna have separate ownership. That's required by the state partially for these reasons, so that you look at this economic entity of the 124 homes. If that for some reason became 100, 25% would still need to be affordable to maintain that standing as a comprehensive permit. We're still meeting the standard, although it's a lower project. And again, it's only gonna be reduced if there's some, I'm gonna tell you, from my mind, a catastrophic problem with engineering, that I'd reduce anything like that. So, but you have 3 distinct projects, and I don't necessarily think all 3 would be adjusted, but the proportion of affordable housing required in each pool will always be 25% for the single family homes, 25% for the rental cottages. It happens to be 20% for the 62 plus housing because we're going with a lower affordability number. So that would always stay the same.
So those percentages stay within each of those categories.
Otherwise, I lose my standing to be here and to be able to do the work. I have to provide those percentages or the permit doesn't exist.
And it stands to reason if the percentages stay within each of these departments, they're also gonna stay within the total project as well.
Correct.
I'm not, yeah, I guess I'm not seeing, okay, you know,
Yeah.
need for a floor.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
Could you send Ezra a note and just ask him? He's our consultant, and just say typically in these comprehensive permits, would you expect to see there being a floor, or because of the other sort of natural guardrails that are in place, is it, do we need to be concerned about that? And what type of language, 5, 6, and 7? See what it says.
I guess, I mean, do you see a real downside with it? I mean, obviously,
Did you see the stock market today?
No, I'm not talking about that, but I mean,
That's a
but I mean,
possibility.
no, but I'm saying, if it ends up being fewer residences, other than the financial, which is unfortunately on you, is there a harm to the town?
You mean in terms of the total number of residents?
Yeah, if it's less than was planned, I mean, what's the harm to the town? Because I think if there's no harm to the town, then we technically don't care.
That's true, that's right, yeah. And I'm not saying
Unless the town's depending upon the tax base, right? If there's some projection the town makes based on what the purported tax base is gonna be,
but yeah, that's not a factor.
You're not suggesting the town would spend money before they get it.
we're not doing that at all. No.
No government in the history of mankind ever done it. I'm not even technically sure, I don't actually think that's a factor we can even take into consideration.
Yeah, I don't think that. I mean, I generally, if there is something that would impact my ability to build a project, I'd be coming back to the town. And candidly, I'd probably have to look at curtailing the rentals. I mean, the for sales drives it. If theoretically I couldn't get the capacity out of the wells that I needed and I could only get 40,000 gallons instead of 60, I'd be coming back saying, hey guys, this is the situation. This is how I'd like to manage it. And we'd have a conversation and come up with an alternative. I don't expect that to happen based upon where we are, based upon the contingencies we have built into into my planning cycle. But theoretically, if that happened, I would be coming back saying, this whole thing is really, this has been a dialogue. It's gonna continue to be, a dialogue. We're not arguing about anything. If there's an issue, we're gonna come in, we're gonna talk about it. You're gonna know exactly what the problem is shortly after I do. And, if changes need to be made, it'll be a dialogue. So, I understand if you wanna get as feedback, I don't particularly care one way or the other. I don't think it hurts me. I don't think it helps me. I don't think it really matters, because if I have a problem, I'm gonna come back and say, guys, this is what we're dealing with. This is what I'd like to do. Are you supportive of it? So, whatever you're comfortable with.
I think in terms of the town's public interest, I think it would be the affordability issue. I don't think the number of total units, would be, a concern in terms of the public interest. I don't know that, we have to have a certain number of total units. I mean, there's always a debate about, whether more housing, brings in more revenue or brings in more costs. So I don't think it's a clear cut public interest that we have to have this total number of units as opposed to a lesser number. It's more, I think the affordability component that I was asking about, I think is
I
with.
I would tend to agree, but it's up to the board. Yeah.
Just my opinion.
I personally don't like the not more than that. I think it's 40. If you need to go less than that, come back for modification of the comprehensive permit.
All right, well, let's ask Ezra, see what he says.
Yeah, I can,
That's, you know, it's just, it's
it's a
everything up
factual
front.
statement that this is what's been approved.
Right.
124, 40.
Right, right, I think that's what we're approving, we got the, you know, the drawings for it and everything, that's what we're approving.
Yeah.
And if you have trouble with the well, there's always the opportunity to put a second well right next to them, as a matter of fact.
That's, I have,
Yeah.
I can add 4 more wells.
That's right.
I left the space to,
Yeah.
in case there's an issue. So I'm not concerned, about the ability to do the project as we have it. That's the one example that is, you know, feasible at least. You know, we've already done the drainage, I've got my septic capacity, so that's the only thing
And
that I
that
could
takes out the
foresee being a
ambiguity.
problem, and I'm not worried about
Still gonna do it.
it. Yeah, so that's the number.
It's basically a contract between us and you to,
And as you said, theoretically, if I have a problem and I come back, it's a change, and you decide if it's a substantial change or not.
that's right.
You wanna open the hearing, we open the hearing, we talk about it, if it's 4 units and it's a modest change, you can consider it unsubstantial, but you know what's happening and we move on.
And the affordability is protected by the state, there's gonna be
Absolutely.
25%, no matter what, period.
Correct.
All right, we'll talk to Ezra about that. All right, moving on to the conditions.
I have one comment that I didn't notice before, Michael, under the second paragraph under the regulatory agreement. It's 20%, the profit is limited to 20% of the total development cost of the project. And this just says 20% of the total profit of the development of the units. So it's 20% of the total development cost is the limitation. So, I mean, this is a $100 million project cost, and theoretically, there could be a $20 million profit, $10 million project, $2 million profit. If sales are 14 million, then that's, you know.
Even there, we're at the mercy of the state, they set the standard, they set your requirements.
They do, and they
And the
review it,
town-
it's gotta be audited.
The town, but the town can't even audit it.
No, you're gonna review the audit. to
Whatever
say
they
exactly.
send us, that whatever they say it is, it is.
Right, I just wanted it to be factually correct, that it's
Right.
20% of the total development cost is the profit limitation.
Yeah, because we've had issues in the past, they just don't do it, their job when they're auditing.
So, some are better than others, they've gotten better and gotten more consistent, I think.
Okay, finishing up number 1. Actually, I don't really like the word return, because it makes it sound like we've given them money, we're returning it. I think it's profits in excess of 20 cents must be transferred, must be sent to, must be provided to. Returned implies that we've given some money, which isn't quite correct.
It's clearly not happening.
There's also a typo.
We give you good wishes. It's worth something. Is the comment here, local preference requirement, that's what's reflected in the additional sentence?
Yes, I
Okay.
did delete that comment.
Yeah, that will be requested, it already was requested as part of that, but in the final approval, it'll be updated. And I just, since I clarified on the other one, for the, you know, for the rental units, it's, you know, a 10% annual return. We just want to put that in. So you can get 10% on the equity every year, not just 10% on the equity total.
So a calendar year?
Yeah, calendar year. I guess theoretically it'd be a fiscal year, but 2 calendar years. So,
Okay. And when do we pick it? When do we pick it?
Saint Jesus, okay. You're an accountant too now?
I've had too much fun with ambiguities.
I can imagine.
All right, anything else with number one? No? Okay, two, so not. All right, number three, there's. Oh, sorry, yeah, number three, there is a comment here from Kathy going, is this what Mark envisioned for coordination? I don't know if she's talking about the same thing. I remember she was talking about coordination about like linking properties, and making sure paths were connected. I don't think that's what she's talking, that's not what we're talking.
I think that she's talking about a reference to the potential for additional bedrooms, is my guess. We had to talk about that today. If we had had this conversation early on, we've got a little extra capacity. There might be an extra 20 bedrooms or 30 bedrooms or so. Depending on what they count for the clubhouse and count for other things, we'll see what gets utilized. But the conversation was, hey, look, if we have extra bedrooms in some of the single families, or 4 bedrooms, does the board have a problem with it? And they didn't. And that kind of was, I felt, the extension of the comment that they were making here, saying, well, if the bedrooms aren't utilized, what does the umbrella trust have control of them? And
I think Kathy was referencing the part about a trustee serving as a liaison to the of the
That's how I
process.
do.
this is what we talked about
So
that, and I
we
think
talked-
that's,
yeah.
I think that makes perfect sense.
And I think the comment here is the trust must include a trustee. And I don't know if that's currently reflected in the umbrella trust.
The trustee is in there.
Yeah, we made
And-
reference to it.
Okay.
I also think you need the same trustee to be able to go to the selectmen to discuess issues with the community.
Yeah.
And let
To
the
get one
selectmen,
person would.
if something
focus
isn't
on
being
managing
maintained
that
and
relationship.
somebody complains, an opportunity to go to the selectmen and say, here, they're not maintaining like their plan says.
No, that is the intent, to have one person that is the critical person with the town. There'll be another person that can focus on the well, another person that can focus on landscaping, another person on wastewater, so, there'll be a lot of work for them to do. And the umbrella trust, that, as we had said, that DEP is gonna dictate sizable components of that trust as it relates to managing those, the water system and the wastewater system. So once, their specifics that need to be incorporated are done, that will come back to the board for review, which is part of this permit as well. So I don't have a problem with the way it's written. That's been the intention, that there'll be a liaison. But the board will have the opportunity to review that prior to it going into effect and having occupancy as is spelled out later in the decision.
The board, as soon as we approve this, we're out of the picture.
Well, I don't think so.
No, we have no authority after that.
For outstanding conditions, yeah, it's a
No,
condition that has.
the building commissioner or the planning department take over for us.
Well, it wouldn't be the planning department, it would be the building condition,
No.
they're the zoning enforcement officer.
Right.
So for minor items of then reviewing it, standard items, they're gonna review it and accept it to take it, this is my words, to take the burden off the board for what are relatively straightforward issues. If he or they have any questions about it, I'm sure they're gonna say, hey, let's take a look at it. When I get it, when I have that stuff put together, I'm gonna submit it to him and to Michael and to the board for you guys to do it. You defer him to review it, that doesn't matter to me. But I wouldn't agree with the statement that the board is out of it. We have issues, there are conditions that are outstanding, the board can have input in it.
I don't believe so. I believe you look at the rules and regulations provided by the state for comprehensive permits, says that once we've approved it, and it was also on the previous comprehensive permits for meeting house, I was on the board and I was concerned about what happens, we say, come back to the board with such and such a report. And the lawyers at the time said, no, when you sign off on the permit, you're out of the picture. It's up to the planning department and the building commissioner or the board of health or whatever to act on all that. We're dead done. which I didn't like, but that's what.
Yeah, I would look at it that the building commissioner he's the zoning enforcement officer.
Yes.
Or he's your cop. So whatever, I don't wanna say whatever he does, but as it relates to a permit, his interpretation of this, it is not consistent with what he gets, or he has questions or concerns, just like, you know, there's issues or clarifications that are necessary on a zoning issue, he comes to you. You're essentially, this is my opinion, you're creating zoning for this project, that's the nature of this permit. And if there's a question or a conflict in his mind, he comes back to the board. If it's making sure that these boxes are checked, yeah, why the hell would you wanna be involved in that? But, so that's at least, that's always the way that I treated them. The board made the decision, they have the opportunity to say yay or nay on the documents. You wanna defer to the building commissioner, fine by me, but I will do what's in the permit.
Okay, yeah, no,
All right, any other questions about, number 3? Sorry.
so, again, the board is in there, and I think it has to be building commissioner or the planning department in
So
place of that.
based on advice from town council, it says, note that board approvals after the issuance of a comprehensive permit may be challenged. Post issuance of the permit, the ZBA is permitted to designate individuals or departments with expertise to review various aspects of the plans for consistency with the permit. And then there's a case, the ZBA may even conduct that review itself if it has the necessary expertise, as long as the review is limited to determining consistency with the permit. See, blah, blah. So basically, it can be reviewed by the board. It would just need to basically be done in one meeting to show. 1 or 2 meetings
It
realistically.
would be the building commissioner or the planning department coming to the board to ask to review something.
It doesn't say that it doesn't say that they have to come. It could theoretically be the board can review and approve everything, but it could get challenged in court.
I will find the rule and bring it up to you.
All right, we'll put an asterisk on that one. I would, that sentence, the umbrella trust must include, I would actually reword that to say, the umbrella trust must designate a trustee who serves as a liaison with the town of Stow. I mean, theoretically, the trustee should be acting in the interest of the residents of the project, but, and I just don't like that language, you know, like, so just say, the trust is a liaison with the town of Stow.
I do have a question about the trusts. You have 3 trusts, one for the rental, one for the homeowners, and one for the multiple family.
There's,
How are you going to handle all the other parcels, like the roads, the ponds and everything that are around?
that is the purpose of the umbrella trust. The umbrella trust, the revenue and responsibility flows up to the trust from we'll say the 3 ownership entities.
Yeah,
You know, one
So the
ownership
umbrella
entity will have
covers
the
that.
rental cottages, one will have the 20, you know, the age restricted housing. And then there will be a homeowners trust that will represent the interest of the 124 homeowners. So those 3 entities,
okay, so the umbrella will own the rest of
the
it.
umbrella will be above it and will oversee the open space, clubhouse, all that kind of stuff. Anything that's shared by, you know, and it's really all
Water,
shared by
the
everybody.
disposal, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and the proportion of expenses and vote will, you know, reflect, you know, essentially the percentages of the property that, you know, loosely based on the, or substantially based on the flow. Because that's, you know, that's gonna be more
Okay.
people and that's development works, yeah.
Would be a question in terms of authority lines, you know,
They'll have voting power based upon, the numbers, I think, were roughly 70%, 25% and 5%. 70% for the single family homes, 25% for the rental cottages and 5% for the age restricted.
Well, I guess what I'm thinking of is like, let's say there's an issue and involves, we'll say the rental units, let's say.
Which one?
It's true, which ones, the cottages.
Okay.
Okay. So if there's an issue, is there gonna be some overlap between, what, the cottage people see as a concern as opposed to what the umbrella people see as a concern? In other words, where's the defining line gonna be between what
I
becomes?
think it would depend on the nature of the issue. If it's one cottage rental tenant against another tenant, then that's a management issue amongst that. If it's them complaining about, cars parked on the main street that's making their access difficult or something along those lines, then that would be something that would float up to the umbrella trust. So just examples of, how it can be different. I think it depends on the nature of the issue, and that would dictate the nature of the interaction. But the entities will be there to be able to deal with those. And ultimately, if things float up, that becomes the umbrella trust issues to control.
But if there's some difference of opinion about what's specific.
That's the umbrella trustees
Yeah,
have the
ones with
ultimate power
Okay.
to resolve it.
That's what I'm.
That's
saying.
their job, yeah.
Okay.
Is that clear?
Yeah.
Good. I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if that's what you were.
Yeah, exactly.
Anything else with 3? 4?
Same thing about the board. My issue with it.
Just for me to clarify, your issue is not that you don't want us to have it.
No,
You're saying,
we don't have
you're saying you don't think we can.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, understood.
It's a jurisdictional issue.
Right,
Um,
because they give us, for the approval of the comprehensive permit, the state gives us the authority to do that, acting from the town boards and everything. But once we've approved it, we're out of the picture.
All right, I'm gonna work these numbers off the red line version. So 5, which is the rental management company that's been added in there.
And boards in there too, so.
Rather than saying the name and the contact information, do you want it to be more clear that a rental management company has to have been retained? I mean, it's sort of implied. Say that again. Rather than, all you're saying is, they just gotta give us the name of a company. I mean, aren't what you're really saying is, we wanna know that they've actually like contracted with and retained a rental management company?
I think you wanna know who the responsible party is.
Yeah.
It could be internal, it might be a third party, it might not be a third party.
Like the
So,
building.
but it's just like, you wanna know, who do I call if I have a problem, I think is the main focus.
Yeah, okay. All right, 6, maintenance of common infrastructure. We're looking at Kathy's comments, just to flag that. She says, not included.
The trails.
Trails which town may maintain.
That's further down in the decision, under open space. That's,
Yeah, the conversations have been, we've got the perimeter loop that goes around that ultimately will tie into the town trails. It's intended to be a public trail, we're providing access to the community and everybody. And if, there were conversations, if the town wanted to make modifications to it, to make it fully handicap accessible, that in the future that they would have the ability to do that, but they'll have the responsibility to maintain the trail. It's there for public usage as compared to private usage, so. And that, I believe, is addressed as a condition that we install it, the town will maintain.
Yeah, I think it's also commented on 12E on page 14.
One thing, I think it's worth going back to town council, just to clarify, like. Like, they're making this broad, I mean, unless it's somewhere else in the email, I missed it. They're making a broad statement about what we can do afterwards. Oh, there are some things you can't, do or can't do. We've got specific items here. I mean, I think we gotta flag it and just say, because there's a big difference between like water testing, for example, and like, well, which would seem to be outside the scope of like that versus the trust documents. So I think it'd be worth going back to town council and just asking for clarity. Listen, in this paragraph, is that gonna be a problem or not? Because if it is, we need to know by now. So do that, I think it'd be worthwhile. Okay, anything else on 6? Do we need to, just on the last paragraph, like, do we need to change Clubhouse Way to make it more generic, just in case you change the name?
I think Clubhouse Way is referring to the plan, so
If you change
if
the
you
plan,
change
then
it
you
on
come
the
back
plan,
and
then
it's,
it would be done.
Yeah.
I think it's okay. It's hard to determine what it is. I mean, so.
No, I know, I don't even know how to describe it, It would take 3 paragraphs to figure it out.
It's the place by the such and such next to the entrance. Yeah. By the old green.
That's right, so. Well, that's how deeds are usually done, 5 steps left with the 4th rock,
Rods, yeah,
Right, there you go.
all that good stuff.
We just add, in that last sentence where it says 6 remote controls. We just add the word, must be provided to the town immediately after the installation of the gate. All right, 7. Cost certification, I assume that should be fine. Site design, 8.
But it's just like on the costs submitted to the board, we have no financial experts, we'd have to go hire somebody, we have no budget to go hire somebody.
We could get one.
I think, I mean, I read it that, we
It'd be
submit
going
it
to
to
the
them,
town.
we submit it to you, that's,
Yeah.
You don't, you really don't have, the state has the jurisdiction
Right.
over it, but I mean, typically what happens, and whether you want this to reflect, typically you submit it to the state does their review, the state will do their review, get any additional information that they want, then they'll send it to the town will have a 30-day period to review. You don't say anything, then it comes back, then they finally issue it, and then ultimately I get my money back,
Yeah.
but,
If you send it to us, we won't have any time to review it, because we don't know what we're looking at.
well, no, and I think it's really,
Yeah.
I interpret it as a matter of fact that you recognizing that's been done. It's been submitted to them, we have a copy of it, we know that this is an important aspect of the program, and it's proceeding. That's how when I read it, that you're not gonna do anything with it, the
Yeah.
state's gonna say it's good or bad. So if you wanna clarify for that, or that the town will be notified upon submittal to the state, I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
But it's the same, that to me is, that's how I interpreted it, that you will be abreast of the fact that this work is ongoing, that it's been submitted, and
Had some drop in the crack.
that's how I read it.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it, so.
We need to clarify what we can and can't do. Because selectmen probably should receive that.
Yeah, ultimately, they will send it to the selectmen, the state will.
I think we may have just inserted provide to the board, just to say, our department will have a copy of the record. Honestly, so I think, we were only in the moments where it says to the board for approval, were we thinking that there'd be any potential for discussion, but I think when it just says submit to the board, it really just means Michael will have a record of it and will act on it if needed.
Go collect the money.
Check goes to him.
Are we saying sheet 27 is a typo?
Sheet 11 and 27, they do have typos in the title block. I just noted that so that when you look at it, you don't
It
think.
doesn't say Phil, it says,
It's
so
pile.
on the plans here, it says it has a misspelling.
Yes, 27 says piled lane instead of fill. And then sheet 11 says site development plan, when it should say existing condition plan.
Okay. I'll get that.
Here it is in the rules and regulation. In the decision, conditions, assuming the approval of conditions in section of the ordinance, it will eventually be used by the building officials as a checklist to determine whether the developer has met all the requirements of the building permit and later a certificate of occupancy. As such, the conditions must be written clearly and succinctly. They must describe actions that can be measured in yes or no terms. They cannot include requirements for further review or approval by the ZBA. That's in the handbook for the 40B.
That makes sense, Ernie, in the sense that it's also consistent with the points that were made earlier, which is that if there's going to be a revision, it comes back to the board. But when you're looking at compliance in the absence of revision, it needs to be yes or no, binary.
Alright. 9, number of units.
I'd like to make one change to say 2 instead of 100.
Cute.
It's just one word, not a bullet.
I mean, you only just changed 189 to 2.
289? Yeah. That's all. We're saying the same thing. Yeah.
The not more, that's the same question for Ezra Cross. 10, building design.
There was a comment, I must have missed it, about the design, the exterior design of the waste or the water treatment
Yeah, that was,
building.
Yeah.
Is that something the board wants plans, architectural plans made of the exterior of that building?
You had an exterior. You had an elevation of, just like you had an elevation of the toilet.
That's the wastewater,
Yeah.
as opposed to the drinking water
the
Building.
water treatment plant.
on the.
Oh, that's gonna be, well, that'll be tucked out in the back.
It can be cement
I
block.
have no idea how big it's gonna be or what it's gonna be at this point. It really depends on the level of treatment, but it's gonna be a much more modest building, I hope. I'm happy to provide a copy to the building inspector to take a look at.
I mean, we could just say something that's.
Yeah, I missed it with the water. So there will be a structure. It could be small as a 10 by 10 shed. It could be bigger. It really depends on the level of treatment that's necessary, the size of the tanks and all that. So,
I guess my thought was that, you know, at least in some generic form, be compatible with.
I think if you want to add a statement that
Yeah.
say that the design will be generally consistent with
rest
the
of
other common
structures.
facilities.
Yeah.
And reference the wastewater or the clubhouse, it's all a similar vernacular, so I'm okay with that.
It's not in sight, but
Yeah.
I know, but at the
it's
same
all from the
time.
boonies.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And
it's not overly
people are not
visible,
supposed
but
to
I
walk
still,
there.
yeah, I'm like I am a kind of a consistency snob, so I can throw a little backboard on there so that it looks better than just this hideous box I've seen.
Looks something like your house.
Huh?
Make it look
Yeah.
something like your house.
Yes, it will,
Okay.
it'll be lovely.
Yeah, so maybe just.
People are gonna say, I so wish I could live in the water treatment.
That's unattractive.
Well, my comment was that, as long as it didn't look like my industrial building in Ashburnham, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
It's just a concrete block building, which is ugly, so, but, yeah.
Alright, before we keep going, as much as I wanna keep going, so there's obviously a lot more. I'm not necessarily suggesting that we have to go through all of it tonight, that we can. I just want to gauge people's temperatures about how deep we want to go tonight versus pausing and coming back on September 9th.
Well, we're gonna have to have a few other meetings before December.
No, I know, I'm just, I'm not telling you that we need to stop now, I'm just asking like, so we all have expectations about how much deeper we go.
I just have that pumpkin issue in September.
Yeah, there is that. So, well, let's just talk about tonight.
I say midnight, we end it.
Done altogether, completely?
I don't have to be working until 5:30, so. Fine.
Did you bring cookies at our first meeting?
I might.
Ezra.
Oh, Ezra brought cookies. Oh, yeah, Ezra brought, yeah.
That'd be variety.
Yeah, I was gonna, yeah.
I'll bring cookies to the next meeting.
So, okay, we do
I'll
have.
bring wine to the next meeting if we fit.
We do have additional business.
We do, though, it's sort of the extra add-on on the agenda, all right, I mean, do we wanna go for 30 more minutes and see where we're at?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
Could we?
And then what is our plan B? What does our plan B look
I
like
don't
if we
have
don't
one.
finish up tonight?
I don't have one yet. I'm working on plan A, and my plan B
Okay.
is to figure out what plan B is.
Maybe kind of like a closing date for the meeting of, say, 10 o'clock, does that sound?
9:30 sounds good to me.
Let's just see, let's see how far we can get next time.
If you got other business, we could do 9:30.
Okay. 11, number of buildings per lot.
Not 2,300, no. it's not.
That was my issue to Michael. So if you look at the single family homes, we've got detached garages on a large percentage of it. And, the garages are, generally 2-car garages, 22 by 22. It's 484 square feet. We've got homes that start at 2,000 square feet, roughly 1,000. So we're well over the 25%. In terms of structures. That's why I suggested taking it off. If you want to put in wording that the 2-car garage is, the limitations of it, but was well over that threshold for the home. So that's why I had requested it.
Do we want to make a comment? Who added the statement in the first place?
Oh, I think it was in the permit originally.
Oh.
So
I put that in just
I
as
asked to
a,
remove it.
Oh,
a
okay, yeah,
gauge.
I know you asked to remove it, I just was wondering what the intent was in the first place.
The intent was that it doesn't become a property covered in sheds and garages.
But there's setbacks on the lots, right, so.
There are.
Yeah, I think the intent of it, I completely understood, which was reasonable and appropriate. I think it's just, particularly for this section of homes, the limitation just flat out didn't work. Because
Yeah, it's a byproduct of having really small lots, right, Mark? If we had normal sized
Sure.
lots, it would be a more standard restriction. These are really small
Yeah,
lots.
these are right
So do we
lots,
want to,
and
do we,
25% is
Yeah.
nothing, so, yeah.
right.
So that.
So do we, is
that
it, is
the
there
nature
a
of it,
functional
that it's-
utility to having a gross floor area limitation for accessory buildings? I'm not sure there really is. Because the
No,
lots
I
are
don't
so
think there
small and
is
you've
for
got
those.
setbacks.
I agree.
Yeah.
Striking.
All right, anything else on 11? All right, 12, building height.
Did you discuss this with the fire chief?
I thought, I noticed that it, or in your comments, you had mentioned it, and to be honest with you, I thought the conversation we had last night is that we don't even know why they have a 40 feet threshold.
I know,
because
but
they
it's
can
still there.
access stuff. So I can reach out to him, I didn't, but I'm happy to, I don't see it as an issue, but if we want something from him.
I would like to see something from him that 40 feet is acceptable.
Okay.
Because it's his fire equipment and
Sure.
the town you know, would not be too happy if we couldn't support that 40-foot building.
What's the size of this building?
I don't know.
I'm guessing it's more than 40.
Yeah, but it's not from the front part.
I'll reach out to him. Is it's still the same fire chief?
No,
He's
he
gone.
retired.
So what's the name of the new gentleman? I know I met him.
It will most likely be Barry Evers. He has not yet been appointed as interim fire chief yet,
Okay,
so.
I think he attended the last meeting that I had, so I will reach out to them.
Thank you.
Yes.
And if you need contact info.
Yeah.
All right, section, item 13. The additional plans for submission and approval. I'm sorry, to the extent that any of these questions are repetitive or have issue for, feel free to shoot it. From an ignorant perspective, the reason we can't get these plans now is because it's not something that we've been developing.
It's just another expertise that they'll be dealing with it as we're finalizing stuff, so kind of, you know, once the, you know, now that I know we're all set with the plan and the structures, then, you know, I can have somebody do it, but when things are moving around, it's hard to plan anything. You know, for the signage, we just agreed on the names and the addresses last week, so it's really just the nature of, I don't think that they're, you know, they're detail related stuff, and
What are your plans for the lighting? Are you gonna light the streets? Hope not.
no,
Just
the lighting is gonna,
Parking areas?
there's only limited parking areas. I don't expect to have anything in here beyond the light that you have in your front yard as a
Oh, okay.
as a walkway. So I'm not particularly concerned about it. I didn't say I wanted to change any of the waivers. I'm not dealing with any dark light sky or whatever. It's all gotta be low-level village lighting to provide, you know, kind of a glow around the property and the walkways. Parking as needed, but people will have, you know, post lights, and so when you're walking down the street, there'll be enough ambient light, but nobody wants a whole bunch of lighting in properties these days. The towns don't, the residents don't, the abutters don't, so we keep it very limited in general.
Yeah, I guess we could put a statement there, we'll leave it up to the building commissioner to determine if the lighting meets our bylaw requirements.
Yeah, I didn't request a waiver.
Yeah.
And I'm not requesting a whole.
But see, we usually get, you know, spec sheets for the lights and how many lumens and
Yeah.
they meet the dark sky requirement and all that.
So. Yeah. I can do that. The signage plan, now that we have the street names, it becomes more of a design aspect, that we'll have somebody that will be dealing with, you know, just benches and lighting and, I mean, you know, what they look like, so the signage will be will be the same thing, it will be curated look to have everything look consistent, be attractive, so that hasn't been the priority, getting to the point that I know I can go to places, so, but that'll be provided.
The sign for the development itself, you can put one in front saying this is blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Are you gonna like that?
I think it said I couldn't. I'm trying to
You
remember.
can, but
I
just
get
make
my
sure the
project-
down's pointing.
Okay.
Gotta be
Yeah,
compliant
and it
with the
probably
regs,
will
that's
be,
all.
yeah, I get my projects mixed up, sorry.
Okay.
Temporary sign,
The temporary sign.
Temporary signs.
Yeah.
he said
Fine.
no limitation,
Yeah.
but the permanent can be.
So I would, as part of that package, I would deal with it.
So for T, you're gonna add the plans for the water treatment. So, for architectural plans.
Yes.
What are you gonna do on landscaping? Will you give us anything on that?
A detailed common landscape plan has already been put together. So we'll have him develop, individual, one for a traditional, single family home, so that we have something that's on file. I'll probably do a couple, like an interior and an exterior, because the density will dictate some different stuff, so. Peter, who's done, did the master planning and stuff, will do the landscape design for the site for the individual homes, so.
Understanding that, I guess theoretically, it could challenge that the submission, the need for us to approve the plans as set forth in 13. I guess I would just encourage people to the extent that we can put anything in there now that says, the plans must at a minimum include blankly blank, like that at least would be, that at a minimum is like the.
If you want to incorporate directive to your building commissioner, yes.
Right,
that's
that's the way.
That's really what you're trying to say.
Right, exactly.
So he knows what's acceptable and what isn't.
That's right. That's the way we can actually enforce it, so.
So if you want to tweak it that way, fine by me.
Yeah.
So
So it's maybe something we can take.
I think if you can give us a plan before September,
I'll see what I can knock off.
so we have it there, it'd be much better for us to approve it and say that's it. And if there's any disagreements when you actually do it, that's between you and the building commissioner.
Yeah, I'll see what of those, what I can knock off.
Yeah.
We gotta fix that, that's fine.
The comment, additional easement along Randall Road for future sidewalk, who's that from? Do you remember, Mike?
We usually require at least an easement along the front of the road for, but there's a stone wall there for one thing.
What Michael and I, he had mentioned it to me earlier today, we're, really talking about,
Yeah, just the easement.
connecting these two. That presumably would probably be on this side of the stone wall for safety purposes,
Yeah.
nothing else. And there might be a cart path there, I forget. But I think that was, is the intent that if someone on Maplewood Drive wants to go to Clubhouse Way, they don't gotta go around or come up around here. So I was okay with that being incorporated.
Yeah, the road isn't wide enough to put any sidewalks on the side anyway, so.
No, and I never look at it to see, is the stone wall the right of way?
I believe that's the property boundary,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
it would have to be on the inside.
Well, yeah, I think that's why we're talking about an easement for it, so I think whether you wanna put an easement, or we just wanna put in fact that, I will provide, a walkway, on the property to connect Clubhouse Way to Maplewood Drive, I'm fine with that. Anyhow, and it's on our
Yeah,
property,
makes
we don't
more
gotta worry
sense,
about,
yeah.
you don't gotta worry about easements, it's there
Right.
and it's done, so I don't, that makes sense, that's safe and good for everybody, so.
And it's going to destroy our historic linear structure there, stone wall.
No, I'm gonna be on,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
gonna
leave the
say
stone wall, I'll be on the
No, I mean
inside.
for the driveways to go through.
Oh,
Well, there are openings there now, I'm not really taking down any stone walls, so, I love stone walls.
So you said,
They'll probably be dressed up at the entrance, actually, to, to look nicer, so.
so just between the two driveways?
Yeah.
You're saying, what if we thought about an easement just east of there, closer to Cross Street?
Okay,
And these was just paper.
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah. Just thinking about, in the future,
sure.
if we ever have the,
On the property line, we'll run an easement along the edge, how wide?
I think it's typically 10 feet.
10 feet, okay.
so that lower left green corner there, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
I know it's a small piece of land, but if in the future, if it's.
I understand,
Yeah,
I
Okay,
understand
just
that.
wanna be sure I know what you're looking at,
concern.
yeah.
I'm sorry.
When Cross Street and Randall became a 6-lane highway, we need sidewalk on the side.
Yeah. For the bikes and the buses and the cars, yeah.
I believe,
So that would be an easement from Clubhouse
Certainly from my experience walking down the road, at times it'd be nice to have a sidewalk.
towards.
Well, I know, but there's-
Nice to have.
I think the intent also with E was to show easement around the perimeter walking trail. Is that something the board wants, or just language that says the public has access to it. I feel like an easement would be cleaner, but
Well, an easement would be a lot of work with drawings to put all the meets and bounds around
Well,
it.
that's, yeah, we talked about that, we talked about like putting monuments, and I'm like, no way. Meets and bounds would have been easier, but not easy. I agree,
It's
yeah.
still time and engineer writing down all the requirements.
And does the town need easements if they're gonna be maintaining the trails, or?
they would need to have something that shows that they can do it. Because right now it's shown as one parcel with private ownership by the trust.
Where I would, I mean, like, we've got areas where it's crossing property that will be conveying, obviously there'll be an easement established there. You know, perhaps we can structure something that within the common space, which is, controlled by the association, that the path can pass. And areas where it is, going to affect property that an easement will be created. Does that seem reasonable?
That seemed to be what she was looking for. Rather than showing an easement plan, she was just looking for provision that an easement be established. Do you guys read it that way?
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, I think she wants it to be clear, I know there's attorneys on the board that might have a better background than I. So I think going over what will be I mean, it's all private property, but within the property, there's private property that's being conveyed, and there's common property that's being retained. And areas in which it's crossing private property, there absolutely will need to be an easement created. People need to recognize that someone may be walking, by their yard.
Who's the holder of the easement? The trust?
The easement would be.
It's a deed restriction benefiting the town.
Is it the umbrella trust in that case?
I think it would be the umbrella trust where it goes through, and then the umbrella trust could grant rights to the town. I'm talking out loud.
No. Right, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what could be done with the property, I think, doesn't it? Doesn't have ownership. It says who can use it.
Well,
Somebody owns it.
the common
Well,
space
the
essentially
common
will be
space,
part of
it's
the
owned by the
umbrella
developer, right.
trust.
Like the electric company has an easement called your property.
Right.
They may pay you for that use of that easement and everything. That's an agreement between you and the company, but it's
Right, I think what we're saying is that,
just not permits them to use it.
by and large, these orange areas are gonna be part of the homeowners trust, that will be individual lots that are gonna be conveyed. The blue area is gonna be, that's a separate parcel that's gonna be controlled, for the property owner there. The yellow is also gonna be controlled by a single property owner. So as I look at this plan, where, the umbrella trust will own the green areas. And where the path crosses, and the umbrella trust can grant the town rights across the pathway that's established. In that individual owners, which would be individual property owners in this part of the trust here, and potentially this property owner of the rental cottages would need to provide an easement as well, allowing them to pass and repass on land that's controlled by them. But again, where it goes back into, the green area, it's back into common space and not a problem. So I think that relationship can be delineated. I can run it by my counsel to get her feedback. If she thinks it should be done differently, I can certainly do that for the next meeting. And I'll have her put together a memo outlining it so the board can have it beforehand to make sure that it seems to make sense. I think it's worth clarifying for so it's easy enough to get confused. So I think it's beneficial to clarify it with counsel and make sure that the appropriate parties are being referenced and that the relationships between the two is clear. That makes sense for now, at least.
Yeah. All right, 14 final plans.
Just condition 12, so condition 12,
I think it's 13.
that number.
You would get some.
So anything on final plans?
Just to make sure that that condition is the correct stated.
Right. All right, construction procedures. Have you identified a travel route for all construction activities? Mark?
Yeah, they had asked it, traffic has been an issue here and I don't have I wanna, talk with people, as we get there, but basically, if it's cross street, we know is a problem, for people with traffic. There'll be times where there will be a reasonable amount of traffic associated with this development. So for bringing materials in and those things that we can establish, a path probably, Hudson and coming up, we'll need a way to come from east and west for the most part. So it's like we've got work hours that are established. I don't have a problem establishing routes that our trades need to do that's respectful and safe and meets the needs of the town. And that could be done in, I would touch base with the fire department and stuff here. I'd get some local feedback as well.
Maybe you got a comment if any other issues you want to bring up? All right, any comments on, say, items 15 through 20? Construction. Okay, yeah. 15. So Kathy on the pre-construction meeting said prior to commencement of construction, pre-construction meeting, she goes one or each phase. Was she asking whether there's gonna be a pre-construction meeting for each phase of the construction?
Yeah, see, he's got 4 phases of developing,
Yeah.
so things may change and.
I mean, if there are changes, I gotta come in for changes. From a practical sense, the main scope of work, once the core infrastructure is in and the loop road is in and water and sewer is in, it's just one building after another. I don't think that we gotta need, to have a powwow. They're gonna likely overlap. It's, making sure that, we have a handle on one before we're doing it. So I personally don't think it's necessary. I mean, the initial construction meeting,
Cover it all.
yeah, and they're all generally useless. Everybody sits around, everybody knows that I gotta get permits, I gotta do this work, I gotta do it. There's not a whole bunch of surprises, but that would be the type of meeting where we clarify, work hours, we clarify the construction route. So, but I don't think that is gonna change from one phase to another.
Yeah.
So
But the building department and the police and the fire department need to know what's happening.
right.
And
Yeah, and once we set those rules, it's gonna last for the entire project, so I don't think multiple ones are needed, personally.
That comment from Kathy also made me think, and forgive me if maybe this is somewhere else in here that I'm just forgetting, but was there a section on peer review during construction?
I believe it's
I thought we had
condition,
that.
it was originally under the new condition 14, but it's now condition 30.
Yeah.
There were some additional questions about that.
Yeah, you had it in there and she suggested another place.
Yeah, I think that's gonna help with, any issues that come up between phases. I think just having a third party review there is gonna be helpful. I don't think that, Stow hasn't seen a project of the size with, phases, but I don't see the need for another construction meeting at the beginning of each phase.
And I don't think there's gonna be a clear stop of one phase and a clear start of another phase, so I don't even know when the hell we had that, so. Yeah, so I personally don't think it's necessary.
She also had a comment on 18, all construction staging and parking for construction personnel must be on site. Parking on town ways. But she was saying parking on town ways or town property is not permitted. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think she's trying to clarify that we're not using this as an area.
Yeah.
I think that's more than reasonable.
Yeah, I think that's a complete right. Anything else on 15 through 20?
My comment there on 22 is really to make sure that there is not a question when, if and when the amount of earth removal exceeds the 100 cubic yards for the site. Just maybe there should be acknowledgement that the applicant asked for a waiver and that there is a waiver there.
Sorry, which comment are you looking at? Kathy's or the ones in the red line?
I actually don't have Kathy's comments in front of me, so it's
Yeah,
just,
don't worry, okay.
yeah, just the my note in the sideline there.
Yeah, I mean, from my end, like I've said, we did this is a net fill site. And if, there's decent materials that are on site, they're gonna be used on site because it's a whole lot cheaper than bringing them in. The only thing I can foresee that could come out is that, we may have an excess of loam that we just aren't gonna need, depending on how deep it is in certain areas. That's happened sometimes. Sometimes it happens that, it's a big piles, you gotta get rid of it. So we get rid of it and then we actually, we bring in loam when we need to, to do the lawns for the houses, depending on the area that's there. So that's the only thing, that I foresee, of material that's being removed, and it would really just be what's incidental to the development. And I think it really would be limited to loam, because I don't see there being a mining of anything on the basis. We have sand, we're gonna need it for areas, so why am I gonna get rid of it and then just buy it again? So, like I said, loam, that it could happen, but I don't know how much is out there.
But does the selectmen provide the permit, right?
That would be through the ZBA with this permit. Right?
Yes.
So he's asked for, I believe, the applicant's asked for a waiver from the permit, so maybe it's almost a finding, but you could just add in a quick sentence in that condition, just to say that, this waiver has been granted.
Yeah.
It would just signal to staff if there is an issue with that.
What are the selectmen's usual concerned about removal of dirt from the town? They don't like to lose topsoil, I believe that's the only thing.
Yeah, like agricultural soils,
Yeah.
high quality soil, try not to mine sites essentially.
And I think in my experience, it's that they don't want the disturbance if it's, if this is a gravel site, then,
Well,
and you got
there's
trucks
been one
coming
or
and
two on
going,
site on
coming.
town. that they
And
didn't want.
and it's a gravel operation as compared to building
Yeah.
houses is the
Yeah.
distinction, in my experience in working with towns. So, I just flat out don't think that's not.
I think, yeah, I think the real issue here is the fact that I think we all agree that this is the goal as written, it's extremely vague, and I don't understand what must be kept minimal is. That being said, having not being a construction expert myself, I would have no clue how to write something that would be more specific.
Yeah.
My only concern is anything you bring in has to be free of contaminants.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we're gonna own this stuff, so that is.
I guess from each source, they should be tested one time just to make sure that,
Yeah,
but I don't know what the process is.
Yeah, I mean, for material coming in, we're not gonna take it from a hazardous waste site, I gotta live with this stuff forever.
Yeah.
So it isn't the case, you test material if you need it for a very particular usage, you do sieve test if it's gotta be bank gravel versus other things. Here, you know, I think much of the material is just gonna be general fill, and we just want it to be clean. I don't wanna create messes, I don't want it with stumps and shit that's, excuse my language, it's gonna create noise. So it's important for us that it's clean and it's reasonable fill. There's no benefit for me to have anything in there that's bad, so.
I mean, it may be a situation where you can redistribute, you know, what you dug up.
Oh, yeah, there'll be some shaping that's in there, absolutely.
I think it's interest not to have to, you know, ship out, ship in. You know.
If anybody has done any amount of building, it is monstrously expensive to bring it in or to get rid of it. You don't have to do it, you don't do it. And everybody thinks, oh, well, if there's great fill there, you can sell it and make money. You can only make money if there's somebody right there that needs it. Otherwise, trucking eats up any value. So the less fill that has to come and the less fill that has to go makes for the most profitable development. So, and at the end of the day, this is an economic interest. So the goal here is gonna be, we're gonna use every scrap of material on site that we can and bring in the least amount of material that we have to.
All right, so presuming there's no further changes in 21, 22, the urban filling works, that first sentence hits it, what Ernie was saying before, but then there's a deletion here. What prompted the deletion? But the testing for contaminants?
That was me.
Okay. Is it
It's not
because-
really, it's not required, it's not practical, you know, for, you know, general fill materials, so, you know, we can't have every truck that a guy's building a lot down the street tested, we'll never get anything. So, that was my request to take it out, it's not a typical requirement. Like I said, if we need a certain, you know, if I'm, you know, filling a foundation, I need structural fill, that's a particular fill, that's tested. That's what I'm paying a premium for, we make sure it's there, but we're just talking about dirt.
A lot of stuff there. Michael, I mean, was this added in just because it's been in another one before?
What?
The sentences that Mark's asking to be deleted.
I wrote those,
Okay.
so they didn't come from anywhere, they came from me,
Oh, okay.
so they can very well get deleted or whatever. It's not, I don't.
I mean, I'll defer to the board. I mean, the first sentence basically covers it, saying the stuff's gotta be clean, you know. If it's not, then it's not, regardless of whether it's been tested, you know, it depends on how much oversight or how much we wanna micromanage
I
it.
say strike it.
I mean, if it's not industry standard to test
Well, I
those.
mean, I don't know. If it's-
I don't know.
I mean, I don't think the idea is to be like, truckloads we're gonna test it, it's more like, we're gonna test it on the site. If that's fine, then we take the whole thing, but I don't know.
I mean,
I don't even know what the
I
test would
I
be.
brought in
so-
10,000 yards recently at another site, and it's not, they have come out and brought trucks, but my guy has said, no, you know, take this stuff back, because it's not suitable, and so we see it, if it's, you know, we have to live with it, and if he sees it, it's a problem, he tells them to take it back, and we stop getting it from him.
I'll defer to town staff if they wanna fight for it to be in there, otherwise I'm agnostic, understanding that frankly, you take on the risk. That if it's not clean, it's on you, if you chose not to test it, that's on you, so, okay.
Yeah,
20.
when we're out on site, it's exactly as Mark's saying, I mean, as we're doing construction inspections or as the peer reviewer is with us on site, he could see something, recommend a test and then take care of, so.
You do a time check.
9:30.
And
Yeah, I know.
We're on 16 through 29, we're doing pretty damn good.
So,
That's about
yeah,
halfway.
first half was like,
Halfway.
so, 24. Okay, how about this? We've got, how many pages we have? 60 what?
29 pages here.
No, I don't care about pages, I care about conditions.
65.
We have 65 conditions. We're on 24, think we can make the 32, we can have to do the conditions, or am I being overly optimistic?
It's entirely up to you guys, there's not many comments, there's very few comments on the next page.
Let's see if we can make it to
That'll
halfway.
get us
through
to
the
30, yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get up to third-party inspections, and we'll probably, you know, that will take some conversation, only, and I had mentioned it, I just wanna know what it is, what the, you know, what you're looking to expect, and you know, what to be done. I don't have a problem having them. I don't have a problem with the money. I just want to
Alright,
be
well,
clear
let's-
what they're.
Okay,
Let's get to that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get to the bottom of page 18, which will get us through 32, condition 32, and that'll basically bring us halfway through the conditions. Okay, 24, sequencing.
I wanted to make a change. It says Mapledale Drive, will be completed in its entirety, and from a practical sense, we're gonna put it to binder, and then the finished coat will be done at the end. I just wanted to clarify that.
What is the binder?
so that's just a
You put
standard
2 coats
procedure,
of
yeah,
paving
right,
on
you're
your
not putting
roadway, you
front,
put the first
no
coat
finished
down,
coat on.
then you let it, you know, you let it settle for the year, and really, when we finish the project, the last thing we'll do is the finish coat, so it's beautiful and nice. So it's there, it's substantive, everybody can drive on it.
But you're not wearing it out during the construction.
Correct. So I just wanted to clarify that.
That's fine.
Are you still thinking about bringing gas into the property?
I'm not generally intending it, but I still, you know, if it's necessary, he has I thought he had utilities, or he has electric conduits, so.
Yeah, I didn't know whether that should be part of this.
I think it would probably be good to include it to be safe.
Yeah. Should there be a parenthetical next to it going, if applicable?
The new code, they're just beating the hell out of you on using fossil fuels, so. Whether I wanna use it, I might not be able to, but so. But it would be better to have it in there to be clear. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Is there any structure slated for demolition?
No, there's this little, I mean, it's not demo, I think the structure that you're
Oh,
talking
in the
about
way back, yeah.
is this thing that's fallen over in the woods that, you know, where the backhoe will pick it up and put it away and take it. So the nature has already demolished it, we shall remove it,
Okay.
but there's no other structure, there's really no other structures on site. To the best of my knowledge, I think, you know, there's some facilities that are over here that is on the town-owned land, but I don't think that there's any.
How they water those greens and everything?
I'm sorry?
How do they water the greens and the fairways? Water them during the hot, dry periods? Did they do that, or?
Oh, yeah, this whole site is irrigated.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're using, I don't think that they're pumping it directly from the lake anymore. So that pump house isn't being used and hasn't been used for years. I think they have other sources. Yeah,
Is it wells or what? I mean,
I think so. Yeah.
so they on your property, those
No.
wells? Oh, okay.
No, they're not. So no, they're not. But no, I don't believe that pump house hasn't been active for some time, is what they had said. Yeah.
Any other comments? Let's say items 25 through 28. Demolition, lot identification, street identification, and temporary construction sign. 29, construction according to the site plan, the applicable laws, self-explanatory. All right, so third-party inspections. I'm sorry, you were talking before.
No, I just wanna know, I wanna know what the town wants to be inspected. I mean, this is, these are not gonna be town ways, this is all gonna be privately owned stuff, so it's a different, not to say that it's a different standard, but the responsibility at the end of the day is the homeowner's trust, it's not gonna be conveyed to the town. So I just want some clarity on what it is that you wanna be inspecting. So if you have a schedule that you use for other places that I could look at, that would be helpful. As sometimes I've been in towns and the third party, they're there every day. I'm like, what the hell, I'm not paying for that because I don't need them there all the time. So I'm sure it's reasonable, I just don't know what it is, so.
Yeah.
The drainage, the water installation, the water, they always make sure there's certain separations and everything, and you'll do it, I'm sure, but. Like Sue used to come in from the planning board, and just do inspections when they're paving everything, which you say, you're doing your own paving, but, they go in to make sure that it's done according to the drawings.
Okay.
Okay, and then, like, that's for the drainage, all the storm water management system,
Right,
and
but
make
is
sure
that,
they're all at the right elevation. It
is
comes
that
in
them
doing periodic checks.
evaluating every pipe
I
or
don't-
reviewing my,
no.
our as-bills, or, I mean, but reasonable inspections to make sure that things are going.
Right.
No problem.
I think that's what it's intended.
That's all, if that's what we're talking about, I have no problem. I just don't wanna own somebody sitting on my site all the time at my expense for stuff that I control.
Yeah.
That's all.
I would like to ask, I know it's late, but why are you making these private ways? You're making them to the same specification for roads in the town.
That was at the beginning of the town saying that they wanna make sure that they're private ways. I'd love the town to take the responsibility.
Yeah, I'm not too sure why not, because you've done the whole thing. I've never understood, but it's just
I'm
gonna
with you.
increase your you're paying taxes for snow removal for the rest of the town,
Believe me.
but you're not getting any benefits.
Yes, I love you,
You've
man.
You've just made his argument for him.
I don't,
No, I completely, it's, from the beginning, the conversations of that this has to be a private way, and
why does it have to be a private way?
unfortunately, that's become.
I think it'd be to the advantage of the occupants not to have a private way.
The
You know, you go
occupants-
around Arbor Glen and they're patching the road and everything, and they have to pay the expense to fix all that stuff. But they're paying taxes. The
Just
town
like-
fixes up my
just like
road.
everybody
fixes all
else.
that stuff.
If you drive across the highway, you'll get arrested.
But I'm just,
I
why,
would talk to the highway department, talk to select board, I feel like everyone always points the finger when it comes to this exact topic,
It's your
but I mean.
No, I
I
think
don't-
that, the main, particularly that the main roadways, everybody, they are paying the taxes, we have met the standards. It does provide to ensure for safe access for, services for a bus route. Sometimes buses, it's a private drive, we don't wanna go down there, it's like, well, what the hell? It's a private drive because you tell us not to be a private drive. This is wildly suitable for a bus to take a route
Yeah.
through this on the main drive. It's set up perfectly for it, that there's no reason that they shouldn't, at minimum, deal with, with the main loop in here for health and safety purposes, for maintenance.
especially since the road was constructed to town standards.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
There's other roads in town, dirt and Martin Road, for instance, it's a mess.
There's, and there's some common ways and,
Yeah.
private ways, so,
Yeah.
but.
And right of ways and.
Ernie, you're welcome to bring that up with the powers that be, so.
I
We
think
can
just
modify it here.
to get to the question about the third party inspections, I think it would be pretty minimal, and I'm happy to just work with you, on what those reasonable milestones would be. I imagined it would be pretty light, because
I think,
frankly, there's not much for erosion control on this thing.
I think we can also just put in like one sentence that says, that, everyone acknowledges that, the idea is that inspections are intended to be reasonable, I mean, it's fluffy language, but I think it's, as long as the intent is there.
I think that expresses the intent,
Yeah,
which is
yeah,
good.
it's intended to be reasonable and, to ensure that the town at a minimum is able to ensure that, things are being done correctly, something like that.
Well,
So we can add in the sentence.
the $10,000 more that says that though. It says $10,000 is initial. That's almost covers just a every once in a while inspection.
Right, well, but it does say initial.
I know. If it's necessary.
If it
pay
didn't
more.
have, it will be replenished whenever it reaches 1,500, then I'd say, oh, I'll happily provide 10,000 for oversight for the nature of the project, for the scope of the project. That's all I didn't know if there was a set standard of what it was, so it's.
Yeah,
We
no, I think
want
we,
the as-built plan reviewed, if we'll talk later about a performance guarantee, but any items on there, it's probably really just gonna be the apron as it relates to Randall Road.
alright,
stuff.
so let's just add in a sentence that
Like
acknowledges that the town's intention is to use it in a reasonable manner. Okay. 31, additional permits.
That's all traditional stuff.
What is it?
Damage to town ways.
No, I'm trying to recap the comment.
we want weekly reports?
The weekly,
Reports about what?
the SWIP reports, she means.
Uh,
The SWIP reports can be weekly or bi-weekly, or it depends on how.
the SWIP,
what's-
yeah, it's
what's
usually,
us-
it's usually at storm events.
Whatever. 31 dams, town ways.
There, I would suggest you go out with the building commissioner and take pictures of the road and
Okay. That's good.
document.
It already says that in the sentence.
Document status at start,
Yeah, you gotta have a
and
baseline.
completion.
It's up there. Yeah. The start is already.
Just like if you rent a house, you know, I tell, my daughter is bringing her friends up to a home that I own, it's like, have it look like it does when you get there, kind of the same thing. I can live with that.
Beat it up before you get there, it's already
That's
beat up.
Fix it, clean it up, yeah.
At a later point, I'll tell you about the
Is
first.
this something where we typically have a bond for potential damage or?
Yeah, that item would be in the bond.
And that's part of the conversation, so it's like,
Yeah, well, or, if you did wanna discuss now, that's fine too, but
Is there a bond already in here or not?
I think there's one.
I don't think so.
I didn't see.
I remember seeing
Maybe it was,
one.
I think it's a note at the end of the conditions.
Yeah.
I think it's, I think it was, you know, someone had a note here, so.
I think there's a requirement that it be a Massachusetts,
Well, I mean, we don't, you know,
Why don't we do, like, rather than discussing it right now, do me a favor, can you ask Ezra, a project this size, how typical is there for a request for a bond? And if so, what's the typical size? Just to give us some idea, and that way we can then use it to determine if we want to do one here. Because that way you know where to start.
well, we're just, I think the point that we're talking about here is the existing roadway. That if we damage it, we have responsibility to fix it.
Yeah.
We're not talking about bonding the whole.
No.
Like,
I
you get
understand.
easily confused if you ask him for a bond for what's typical for a project of this size.
No, I'm sorry, I meant, yeah.
I'm just trying to clarify that.
Yeah. But I guess what I mean in terms of a project this size, in terms of the level of effect it could have on town property or town ways, you know,
Just clarify.
so, yeah.
That can also be something that the third party reviews too, because it's really just gonna be a pavement estimate, it's gonna be somewhere around 5,000, 10,000 maybe.
Yeah, and it's, you know, and we'll see what it is as we do it, so.
Most of the damage should be turning into your.
Yeah.
Which we're gonna wanna clean up anyways at the end, so we'll probably pay it. but-
All right, I think we're gonna try to, I think we should just stop there, that way we can make those updates and then process the other thing. That being said, I'm gonna take Chair's prerogative and ask one question. There's a comment here at the end about performance guarantee. What is that, whose comment is that, and what's that in reference to?
That's the bond we've been discussing.
Well,
That's
I
not
think it's,
performance,
I
that's
think
not
it's, I think
Is
it's, there's a variety of performance guarantees that sometimes are utilized. I haven't done one in years. From a practical sense, the concern is that if you're gonna have people living in here and things aren't gonna be completed.
Right.
But from a practical sense, what we've said is that before we can get a certificate of occupancy, the main road and all the utilities needs to be completed, the well system needs to be completed or I can't get a CO, the wastewater treatment system needs to be completed before I can get a CO. I'm gonna have to have my fire cisterns in that is gonna be treating those before I can get a CO. So there's no need for a performance bond because no one's ever gonna be living there until all those items are complete.
Right, I mean, that's what I was trying to figure out, I mean, like, I was trying to understand, like, from our perspective, what's the guarantee we're asking for? It's not like, it's not like we've hired you to build this, and I wanna guarantee that you're gonna finish it within 120 days, at which point there'll be liquidated damages every day after. I just couldn't kind of process, like, what do we get, like, what do we get at?
Yeah, years ago, there used to be these really complicated tri-party agreements that were just a pain for everybody to deal with. And now it's kind of recognized that, you just make sure that enough work is done before anybody's living there. And then you're okay. At the end of the day, there's a sufficient value that's created. If, the worst case is something happens, I can't, I sell 3 houses and I can't do the rest of them. That there's the roadway in there, you have access, you have all these things that are done that can be dealt, that someone else can pick up and go. That's That's it, so.
Okay, so I think, are we okay for stopping here for tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so I think in terms of to-dos, so for Michael, I guess, if you could maybe make the updates that the small updates that you've asked for, and circulate a new version based on that. There's gonna be sort of a half updated, half still left to do. There's a couple questions for town council for Ezra, let's see what answers we get. I think, Mark, you had said, to the extent that you can bang out a couple of those plans.
Yeah, I'll try to knock those out.
That would be great. And if not, I think as long as we've got some language that allows us to put some parameters around it, you know, that could be backup. Other to-dos that I'm forgetting from anybody.
I'm gonna have my council review the easement.
Yes, with the easement issue, yes. And just to, I'm sorry, I don't mean to belabor this, just to revisit it, is the question really coming down to whether or not there's an actual easement to the town, or is it more of a contractual agreement that we have access?
I think that's the question.
Okay.
I think that there, at minimum, there will be some easements going across private property.
That's, right,
So I think there's a couple of questions. I think I understand it. If I don't, I'll reach out.
yeah,
But I'll, let me talk with my council and I'll do
Yeah.
it tomorrow, so I don't forget.
yeah, because one of the issues. I see
It
that-
also, sorry, it also may make sense to just square up with Kathy since she's gonna be, is that where you were headed? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, you have to have easements anyways, because they're going over private property. It would seem weird to have an easement to the town for these like random portions, but not for the whole thing. You know, that's why I feel like it's either gotta be an easement to the town for everything, or it's an easement to the trust, and then the trust through this, I think, essentially contractually gives us access to everything. Both the non-easement and the easement portions, I think those are the two choices. You know, I mean, you know, it's probably cleaner to do it with an easement for the whole thing to the town, but there's other practical potential burdens on that, so, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Oh, okay. So, all right, so that's the
I
other
will
two.
loop up to her and get some feedback.
Okay.
and I'll have her put together something that clarifies it. Yeah.
Okay, otherwise, am I missing anything at this point? Looking at Valerie and Michael.
Did you already say the 40-foot height for fire?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
I'll speak with the fire department.
Sorry.
yeah, that's the other one. Okay. Anything else other than with regards to the decision? No, okay. I think we're looking at what, September 9th, right? We got 9 and 10.
So Ruth can't be there the night.
Can we do you want to try to do it sooner?
I think we should, to meet, do all this that we have to do, I think we're gonna be meeting a couple of times. I would say every Monday this month.
Well, there's other travel things coming up.
Yeah, I'm out from the 21st through the 4th of September.
Okay, hold on.
So what, we had talked about the 9th and the 10th, so the 9th
Yeah, but
is a conflict.
yeah, she's in Europe.
Okay.
Yeah, we also had next Monday penciled in. I thought, maybe I had that wrong.
I can't do Monday. I can't do the 12th. Tuesday.
13th?
I could do the 13th.
I can't do Tuesday, I could do the Wednesday.
No. Thursday, the 15th.
I'm talking August.
Can't do it.
August, she can't do it.
I could do 12, 13, 14, but not 15, 16, 17, or 19.
Okay. You're out August 19th. And Andy, when do you turn to a pumpkin?
Excuse me?
When are you leaving?
I am out the 21st.
Okay, what about the 20th?
I have another board meeting, but I can miss it.
Okay.
I can't do
I'm not doing a marathon that night.
I might need Michael that night at the planning board meeting.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, Tuesday's your planning board.
Was that the 19th?
I'm away.
We have a lot to do.
I mean, is it, but where we had the 9th and 10th, that at least it was designated and it works. We've gotten through half the permit. If you could provide comments, I mean, can she miss one meeting and then watch it on video later and still be okay?
Problem is that, Ruth, are you available, you're not available on the 9th or the 10th, right?
Yeah, I'm in Germany.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was just one of them. I apologize. Okay.
Do we need?
Yeah, sorry. It was a late breaking
Legally.
invitation to go compete.
You need 4
But,
votes, they all need to be unanimous.
yeah,
So if Ruth did miss it, it would have to be a unanimous decision of the 4 members.
I thought I could miss one meeting, Michael.
how did you vote?
Ruth
We
missed
voted.
1 vote at a previous meeting.
So if you don't vote, if you're just discussing, can I miss that one?
If it is the deliberation, the public hearing would need to be closed, and then the board could deliberate without Ruth.
But I thought the intention would be the vote would be on the 10th.
And worst case, I guess I just do it at 1 a.m. from Germany. It's not great, but I can do it.
Could you do it during the day? We could meet earlier. Well, no, some people work.
Yeah, totally. There's that. So if you guys could do it, I mean, if anybody could do it earlier on the 9th or the 10th, just so that I'm not up at 1 a.m, that would be awesome, if that's possible. And nobody can do, oh, Andy's away to the first week in September?
Correct.
The 9th
Got
is
it.
actually the first day you're available, right?
Maybe
Yes,
earlier on the 9th.
Is 5 practical or is that not work for you?
I could do it earlier on the 9th. If I
Do
had to.
that as early as, whatever time you can do. Works for me.
What, 5? Let's start at
Which
5.
is
September
11
9th.
for me.
Yeah, I could do that. I could do 12, I could do 8 o'clock in the morning.
You like me? Except when you take vacation.
So I will note on the 9th, there is a public hearing
Oh,
continuation to 7:15.
Right, that's right.
What time is that?
7:15.
We'll get 2 hours.
Actually, the irony is that we probably need it.
Yeah.
That may not actually be a bad thing.
Is Ruth on the continuation?
On the 9th,
No.
we could ask the applicant to meet in the next meeting to do whatever we were doing on the 9th.
This is the dance studio.
We would have to do that during an open meeting.
Yeah, but when we first get here, we would just say, open meeting.
Yeah, but what's,
It would not work because of the posting requirements for the 10th.
but practically, what's the difference? I mean, all we're gonna do is we're gonna deal with him first and then move on to this one. Okay, this way we're gonna flip it.
Just flip it, yeah. We set it at 5 and it's at 15. Yeah, and if we're
I mean,
almost
If we
done.
finish this in 45 minutes, we don't go home, come back.
we have to bring lunch.
It's just a little bloody starting at 11 o'clock at night, you know?
Yeah, all right, let's do the 5th. I'm sorry, let's do it at 5
On the 9th.
on the 9th.
Which starts me at 11 o'clock.
Just dozing in the background, it's okay.
And there's not an ability, I'm just thinking out loud. Do we want to do, so we had penciled in two potential dates, Ernie, to your point. Do we want to look at the 17th or the 18th?
Let's figure out how far we get and then we'll deal with it.
But I think
Okay.
she's saying yes, compared to the 10th. I speak Ruth now, so.
So
Yeah,
when are you
I
back?
mean, I definitely can't, I mean, I can't do 2 nights in a row you know,
No,
when I'm there to
When are
compete,
you back?
you know. This, back the night of the 16th. I'm really sorry, you guys. It was a late invite. It's pretty cool, but it's a pain.
I mean, I could
I
do
leave the
17th.
6th and come back the 16th.
How about the 19th of September, Thursday?
Okay.
And that
Please.
looks okay with me, so.
I mean, yeah, I could do, if I did the 19th with the 19th. Mark, does that work? Bump the 10th to the 19th.
Yeah, yeah, that's okay.
I mean, theoretically, it's possible we could finish on the 9th.
Well, and I think it will be quicker for all practical purposes. Everybody just got the decision tonight, myself included. So by the time we, come to the 9th, everyone will have looked at everything below. We'll have had updated stuff on the front. So I think it can go quicker that at least, we're not just reading it while we're going through it. So why don't we do that? And the 19th works for me. If that's when Ruth is back and, everybody else is back, that's okay.
Yeah, maybe, I mean,
Alright.
is there a chance we can wrap it on the 9th, do you think, or not?
Well, there's a chance we could wrap it on the 9th. Or the 10th, or whatever the date is. 9th, the 9th.
Yeah.
So the 19th is the backup. Essentially.
Okay. I just don't want to try, I don't want to commit to doing 11 o'clock to 2 in the morning, 2 nights in a row. When I'm,
I understand.
We're forgetting about
Thanks.
the 10th.
Sorry.
Okay.
Okay,
Alright, so it's
okay,
Monday,
cool.
September 9th at 5. And then September 19th at 7. Okay. Alright,
Yeah, that's needed.
great.
We'll know what it is. That's fine.
All right, I make a motion that we continue this hearing until September 9th at 5 o'clock in the evening.
No. September.
Yes.
Oh, oh, yeah, okay, right, I'm sorry.
That's the other September.
Yeah.
9/9.
I have a motion.
Second,
Thank you. I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye.
aye.
Yeah.
Thanks, you guys. I'm really sorry.
Thank you.
And thank you, everybody. I know you guys got a lot of stuff going on, so. I will get out of your way. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Mike.
All right.
Okay. All right, I know the hour is late, but we still have the rest of the 98 Pac-Man Road decision. We want to just bang that out.
The one thing I had seen from Trent is,
Oh, hold on, one second, sorry.
sure. I just read.
Sorry.
No, I just want to make sure you're,
Yeah, I was just trying to get my drafts.
okay.
Yeah, go.
Alright, it's in the vote, basically, I'd ask for the addition to the setback for the storage shed would be a minimum of 2 feet, but looking in the minutes, it was actually 2.5 feet, so I'd like to mirror what was said it would be, so if we just change that from 2 feet to 2.5 feet, I think that'll, again, where it's supposed to be, was planned to be anywhere.
This is number 3.
Yeah, 3, the red line, okay, so red text.
Are you guys back on Red Acre Road again?
What'd you say?
Are you back on Red Acre Road? I got lost.
We are back on 98 Pine Point Road, which
On Pine Point,
we're
okay,
not,
which I'm
we're not.
not on.
Sign off, you're
Okay.
welcome. I'm not trying to kick you out, we're fighting.
No, please do.
All right, have a good night, Ruth.
All right, thanks, you guys. And again, I apologize.
Okay, have a time.
Good night, bye.
Night.
All right.
All right, I think we were through page 3, so page 4.
We last were on 18, because I didn't know about that, about closing
Oh, yeah,
the deck.
right, rather than saying that the addition approaches the west of the property, yeah. Do we need to work through the language, or do you have a sense of what to put?
I have a sense of that.
Um, All right, anything else, page 4? The highlighted item,
Yes.
I guess, what's it highlighted? Why is it blank?
So it's highlighted, it just says, does the board wanna see the architectural plans, or is the board okay with just having it go directly through the building commissioner for approval?
Thoughts?
The building commissioner is gonna go through and make sure it meets code.
Mhm.
We can't do that, have the expertise for that.
Is there anything? And the flip side is just whether we have conditions that, I mean, the fact that there are no architectural plans, I mean, theoretically, even though they're enclosing the deck, it could also then turn out to be, 10 feet taller than where the house is right now. I'm not saying that it's going to be. So the question is, do we want to see the plans, or do we want to put conditions that set forth what the guardrails are around the plans?
Why is it different than the one we just reviewed tonight?
I mean, the shed.
That was a different project.
I understand that, but I'm saying that that individual submitted plans and design for a shed.
No, but we're not, I don't think this is about the shed, I think this is about it's about the enclosure of the deck.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I would.
Yeah, okay.
We can just put in a condition that it's gotta be the enclosure of the deck not to exceed the existing roof line. So that.
Well, exceed the roof line in which way? Because that cantilever is off the side of the building.
Yeah, but I think the roof,
The peak of the roof?
yeah,
No, it's gotta be the roof at the point.
that's the point where the deck goes up.
So when I looked at the building, I have to say, I didn't see that the roof line extended beyond that section that's already there. So I'm not sure what you're trying to describe here.
What I'm saying is that.
He's gotta physically, if he's gonna do something to tie it into that roof, right? Once that wall goes up, and however, this is gonna be either some sort of a little dormer, either a little A-frame or something that ties it into the other roof.
Why does it need to be an A-frame?
Well, however, it's a shed, I don't know how he's gonna tie it, so that other roof is, whatever the pitch on that roof is, that wall's gotta go up and it's gotta somehow integrate into that other roof line.
Yeah, I guess I just don't want it to be too high.
Yeah,
I mean, we could just say it can be no higher than the rest of the roof, peak of the roof. I mean, if you wanted to put the dormer at the top of the roof, does that harm anything?
We could say that whatever he does, does not exceed 35 feet.
It already comes out.
That's the bylaw.
it doesn't grab to the edge of the deck, right?
I think it does.
Should it go 2 feet? I mean, they're 2.5 feet or wherever that is.
That looks like it, more or less covers it.
Sure looks like it's covered, it looks like it's just 3 walls out.
Oh,
So it's-
yeah, okay.
So,
No, I didn't walk on the property, I just, looked in from the road, so I couldn't get that real dimension like that. So the way he's got that red line like that, it looks like the roof will just somehow, run the stud line up to that.
The condition can be that either the roof has to remain the same, or if it's gonna be replaced for whatever reason, it has to be in the same position as it currently is. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Can we do that?
No, so we make a window.
Do you want that added to condition 1 or 2?
Two.
2.
Yeah. Yeah, but otherwise, just, the plan should be submitted to the building inspector. And actually on 3. So it's gonna, that's the last sentence is gonna read, the storage shed shall be set back from the property line by a minimum of 2.5 feet. I mean, I would add it like, it shall be no, like, because the way the drawing is set up is that it's not any closer to the property line than the driveway is. So we want to kind of use that as a marker, essentially like, you know, it can't encourage any closer than the driveway is, you know, presently. Something along those lines.
The question is how close is the driveway to the property line? So maybe the greater of either 2.5 feet or the edge of the driveway.
I'm sorry to steal this.
The driveway is right here. There's a right of way, there's an 8-foot right of way here.
But that's on the other, there's a fence right here. There's a
There
fence,
there is a
Oh,
fence,
that's-
there is a fence that runs down there, yes.
and there's a right of way, but that's strictly on
Correct.
Todd's property.
I mean, if the drawing of the shed's accurate, the shed looks further away than the edge of the driveway.
You're right. Okay, so maybe we don't need to add that. If anything, it actually could be confusing if we do it. Never mind. Number 5, about storage of personal property in Pine Point Road, construction. I don't mean to go down this road, no pun intended. Is that really within our purview?
I don't think so.
I mean, we don't have jurisdiction over the road.
So it's a private way. So there is,
Theoretically, the owner of the property, I mean, private way, if you own property, you own halfway into the private way itself.
yeah,
I don't think that's true in this case.
Because,
The deeds. I'm not
I
sure.
mean, this is me, yeah.
This has been around for a long time.
I understand, it's probably more complicated than that.
Yeah.
I mean, the short answer though is that like, if someone wants to do something the private way, they don't come to the ZBA. I'm just concerned about putting in, while I agree with the sentiment, I just don't know if it's actually within our jurisdiction.
Yeah, if someone has a complaint of how he parks his cars or where he parks them, it's his fire department is the one that would have an issue with getting their equipment in there. So that it should be complained to the fire department. I would think.
I mean,
The police, well, the police department couldn't necessarily make this private.
They can make a judgment also, but no, it's safety.
Yes.
I mean, in some ways, I'm not trying to be flip. Doesn't make a difference whose responsibility it is, as long as whether or not it's ours or not. But, I mean, if someone thinks I'm wrong, I'll speak up, please. I mean,
It's not our responsibility. It'd be nice to be able to say we can make those decisions, but I don't think we can.
You could maybe make it a finding and make it an observation of some sort, but it certainly can't be a condition. Not that we could impose.
could we put a condition in there? Could we something more general? I mean, isn't one of the, hold on a second. I mean, number 10, for example, which is a standard language we put in all of our decisions, so the proposed construction comply with the conditions set by other town departments, boards, and commissions. I mean, does it go too far to say like, you know, the special permits conditioned on compliance with, I don't know, all applicable laws and regulations in the town, so including those with right away? Gotta find a compromise here. I don't know. I feel like I'm doing some mental gymnastics to get there.
It sounds like you I would agree with that, because then you get to the fact that who's gonna actually adjudicate that.
Oh, I know.
Right, so it's like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
I know.
You know, really
I'm sort of inclined to just cut it off. Then, I mean, we could. Is there a reference to it someplace? There was a reference to butters comments, number 23.
Yes,
Butter.
So it is referenced there. I just don't think you can add 5. And that's my point.
I agree.
Like 5%.
This doesn't fit, it doesn't fit, so.
We do reference as a mandatory finding for all special permits. It's 24F. Says will result in no significant effect on the level of service of town roads or intersections of these roads.
Not a town road. See what I mean?
And what he's asking for has nothing to do with how he puts his cars.
I mean, it does sound like it's something that the
It's a personal
owners of the road have to
It's a personal conduct issue.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Anything else? Keep going.
So is 5
5's out.
out?
Strike 5. So I will say for number 4, I don't love the word storage.
That's within the right of way of the dot.
No, I know.
That's his right of way, and if there's a fence there, yeah, he'd have to, I mean, it's,
I would actually just remove it and just say that there shall be no personal property within the right of way, rather than storage. Storage implies like a permanence. You know, I don't wanna get to that sort of argument. This actually is broader. Basically, don't put stuff there.
well, I don't think there's a need for it. Yeah.
That one's closer.
Whatever the provisions are for the right of way, which is not,
I know.
it's probably the lot that she owns across the street.
So
Very close.
I think, can we keep 4 and just remove the words storage of? There shall be no personal property.
should it, I think it should get refined a little bit more than just say
Just
personal
comply.
property of the applicant.
Yes. That's a good, excellent point.
It's not a problem now, so I don't think it'll be a problem in the future.
where's the reference to the Concom, where is it? You talked about that already, right? Yeah, that was,
Yeah, but he's gonna have problems if he has to send the building commissioners on there. Raise the issue of that.
Yeah. All right, any other comments, questions?
Can I say something or is that not allowed?
Sorry, not allowed. Any other questions, comments, or edits on the draft?
So do we want to have the architectural plans for review or not?
No, so nobody building inspection.
So what do we put in for the first number one?
Notifying for the building inspection. And then condition 2 will add a reference to the height. Condition 3 will be amended to say a minimum of 2.5 feet. And then condition 4 will scratch out storage of and then insert after personal property, the phrase of the applicant. And then number 5 was removed.
The date and the footer needs to be corrected, right?
Yeah. Right.
Well, on 10, although this might be standard verbiage, the second sentence, the special permit does not assume compliance with other town. I assume what you mean is that we're not assuming that everything he is compliant with everything at this moment. But it's a little bit vague. It sounds like they're not assuming that compliance will happen. It's one way to read it. So are we trying to say we're not assuming that the plans, et cetera, will be compliant with other departments, but so he has to go to other departments to verify compliance.
It's basically saying that there could be other permits that need to be sought after.
Yeah.
But we are, by putting in that condition, it's saying that we aren't checking to make sure that it's in line with just say Board of Health, Conservation Commission, Building Department, all of those.
Maybe reword that a little bit, because I found it a little confusing. I wasn't sure whether you're talking about, that, we're not enforcing compliance or we're not. So it may be just clearly say we're just, that the applicant is responsible for ensuring compliance to other departments, the requirements of other departments.
Can you just strike the whole sentence?
I could,
Because it says shall comply with conditions set by other town departments, boards and commissions.
Yeah, I kind of like it though. It's
That's a good way it is. It says, we've approved it, but there's other town boards and commissions that have a say in what you can do and can't do.
Then
conservation.
change, just flip the sequence of the sentences there.
oh, that's a good idea.
okay.
And actually, the second sentence, which is not the first, can you mirror it? Because in one sentence it says town departments, boards and commissions. The other sentence it just says town departments and boards. It should be departments, boards and commissions for both.
Read it when we get.
Prior to site disturbance.
What we have. We said we want to require a plan. We're approving the putting of walls on the existing deck up to the existing roof. Then they have windows, doors, or anything they want to in those walls, but that's can't extend any further.
Right.
Is that what we say? Something like that?
Isn't that condition 2? Which is, that's not approach, but
You might want to add something in fact they cannot extend along these, whatever the length of that pump out is, it cannot extend beyond that.
Why don't we do that? We have it for number 2, if you don't mind. We say, so it says dwelling addition must not encroach with western property boundary no more than 10.8 feet. How about a sentence that says something like, for the sake of clarity, you know, the proposed addition will not extend beyond.
But it's
Existing
it's confined
It,
to
yeah, again, is limited to the
pre-existing.
the pre-existing deck.
The footprint of these pre-existing deck.
Yeah.
I like that better.
Anything else, John?
I move that we approve request for special permit for 98 Pine Point Road. I grant a special permit for 98 Pine Point Road. And approve the decision as amended.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Any further questions about the additions, the amendments? Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. All right, with that, the decision will need to be typed up based on the amendments that we made tonight, over a 20-day appeal period. Point town staff to be in contact with you, getting a copy, and I'll proceed from there. With respect to this piece, but there's some other pieces we kind of have to do as well. All right, with that, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion, we adjourn the meeting at 10:25.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none? All in favor? Aye. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.